This is the Jason Gregor Show.
Fakes left, now taken off. Gonna run for it. Inside the 10 to 5. The play of the year in the NFL.
CA, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Pressure coming, Colares quickly. Robert Priester, and he's taking it back all the way. Touchdown, Toronto. And a play that might have just about done it for the Argonauts.
Sports 1440 and the Oilers Nation YouTube channel.
Dobbins takes it. Dobbins to the end zone. For the touchdown. And the Chargers take the lead.
What a magnificent Monday afternoon. How are you? Hope you had an awesome weekend. Welcome to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook, and sports1440.ca. Also, of course, on the app, wherever you are listening, Stingray, Radio Player, or iHeart Radio. Thanks, as always, for joining us as we got lots happening tonight. Lots going on. Oilers are in Montreal, where the Oilers are 3-0-1 in their last 4, but they've also blown leads in the third period in 4 of their last 5 games. They managed to win 2 of them, lost in OT to Toronto, also lost to Vegas. In between there, they did beat the Vancouver Canucks rather handily. So, the Oilers have some good things going, but they got a few concerns. We'll get to that. Also, the Grey Cup. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, bordering on the Winnipeg Bills, they have now lost 3 consecutive Grey Cups. And their starting quarterback, Zach Collaros, that is 3 consecutive subpar performances for him in the championship game. He's thrown 6 interceptions in the last 3 Grey Cups. It's not a recipe for success. It was a close game. The Bombers actually led 10-9 at the half, but Toronto dominated specifically in that fourth quarter. Their defense, turnovers galore, and they have now won 2 of the last 3. So kudos to Dinwiddie and Arbuckle and that entire Toronto team. They were full marks for the victory. So the big news this week will be, do the Elks announce their GM by Friday? I think they're going to do it this week. I know that Chris Morris gave himself, right, until next Monday. That was his self-imposed deadline. I don't think he'll go the distance. I think it's going to be Ed Hervey, and I think it'll be announced at some point this week. The head coach, I think Rick Campbell is definitely an option. We'll see what the BC Lions do. You know what? That's why there's not certainty there. Now, Campbell's contract is done, so he could just wait it out and say, I'm leaving. Done. Right? They have a new GM who's been in the organization, but Rick was co-GM. So does he care? He's not going to be the GM. He's not going to be the co-GM in Edmonton. So we'll see. But I won't be surprised if you have Morris, Hervey, and Campbell when it's all said and done for the green and gold this week. Oilers will not have Darnell Nurse tonight or tomorrow. Probably not Thursday. Maybe Saturday. That would be my guess. If you watched the game, you saw it took a hellacious hit to the head from Ryan Reeves. Reeves gets suspended for 5 games. Nurse, that was early in the second period, so did not return that game. Won't play tonight, won't play tomorrow. I'm going to guess he's not going to play on Thursday. They said 5 to 10 days from Chris Knoblauch. Now, that I think at worst case scenario, he's probably going to miss 4 games because the Oilers, they play tonight, they play Tuesday, they play Thursday, and they play Saturday. But then they don't play till the following Friday. Right? Friday, because they got 5 days off. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are all off. So, you can you won't have to be that worried about Nurse being out any extended period of time. That's the good news. So the Oilers still don't have Arvidsson. Obviously, that's not healed as much as they'd like. Chris Knobloch thought he'd be back on the weekend. That didn't happen. So not playing again tonight. So that'll be 3 straight games he's missed. And if he's not skating, not playing today, is he going to play tomorrow? I don't know. Maybe not. I didn't even skate today. So I guess he could take a morning skate by himself when no one else does it out on a back-to-back. So we'll see. Calvin Pickard will start tonight. Some of the woes of the Oilers. Well, third period blowing leads, not good. They need a few more saves. Their top 6 wingers, they're all like on milk cartons this year. Not good enough. Zach Hyman had 48 and 52 5-on-5 points the last 2 seasons. He has 5 in 18 games. Not even on pace for 20 5-on-5 points. It's not good enough for him. Now, he's been the best of the group lately. Nugent Hopkins has 3. Arvidsson, 4. Podkolzin, 3. Now, Podkolzin's, I don't know how many of us thought Podkolzin was going to be a big point producer, but here's the facts. If you play in the top 6, at some point you got to produce. All right? I don't care about shots for anything else. Production matters. You don't win games by outshooting the other team. You win games by outscoring the other team. And so they need more. Jeff Skinner's played the fewest minutes with either McDavid or Draisaitl, only 85 all year long. And he has the most points. So I get maybe he's turning the puck over a little bit more than you'd like. But at some point, you need someone that can finish. So I don't know what Chris Knobloch, what his guideline on that's going to be. But at some point, I would think it's going to be, there's got to be some production coming in. Right? Like the good news for the Oilers right now, McDavid's playing great. Draisaitl's playing great. And Matthias Janmark is playing outstanding 5-on-5 for the Oilers. He's got the 3rd most 5-on-5 points amongst any forward on the team. And he's basically a bottom 6 guy. He's been on the 4th line, 3rd line. He did have he moonlit for a game. Was it 2 maybe with Draisaitl? But for the most part, he's been down in the bottom 6 and given some production. So they definitely are going to need a few other guys to step up their game. We'll also talk that Serrano-Taylor fight. That was the best fight of the weekend. It's great. Good for them. The fight that made the most money was the biggest dud, as you should expect. And that, to me, is maybe the concern, is that you have, Serrano and Taylor have a great fight, and they make pittance compared to the joke fight that made $60 million for those 2 fighters. It's kind of a sad state in my eyes, but that's just me. We mentioned Caleros, brutal in the Grey Cup lately. How about Alex Ovechkin? The Great 8 is living up to his moniker right now. You kidding me? He had a hat trick on the weekend. He is now tied with Leon Draisaitl and Reinhart for the most goals in the NHL, each with 13. Ovi's played 17 games, Reinhart 18. Same with Draisaitl. So actually has a slightly higher goals per game. And the other thing is, what about his point total? He's got 23 points in 17 games. He hasn't scored 100 points in like over a decade, but he's on pace for 111. I'm not sure he's going to maintain it, but man, he is playing unbelievable. And he's doing it only playing 17.49 a game. I'll give Carberry credit. You look at that Washington team, they are balanced. What about Dylan Strome killing? He's got 26 points. He's playing 17.29 a game. A lot of the other top-end guys, well, Marty Natchez is the other guy. He's playing under 18 minutes. He's got 30 points. So there's our guys who are making the most of their minutes thus far. And, Leon Draisaitl has got himself back into the top 10 in scoring. Connor McDavid has moved up. He is now tied for 18th with 21 points. So moving his way up the standings. You'll probably see those 2 guys in the top 10, top 5 when it's all said and done. But I'll say this about the Capitals, man. They're exciting. And Ovi, what is he, 29 goals now to break the record? 29 goals in 65 games. Very doable. Very doable. It's welcome in studio. Joins us every Monday, a little bit earlier today, because of course we got the pregame show. Sean Brown joins us, former NHLer, AJHL coach and GM, skills coach, and more. Brownie, how you doing?
Good to be back. Kind of coming in a little bit hot there. I didn't realize, so I got a truck and I got the rooftop tent, and so
you tried to park on the.
Well, as you come up there, they have that bar that comes across, and I'm like, I don't know the exact measurements, and I don't want to crack this thing, so. Took me a little. I had to take a different route there, and they closed of all the construction over by the pool there. You can't. I was going to enter over there, so I had to. Anyway,
you're just doing laps around the mall, aren't you?
Just ripping around,
just driving around. Where am I? Where am I? Looking like the Oilers in the last 10 minutes of the third period when they have a lead. What do we do out here? What is going on? Like it's a trend they have to stop. The Evan Bouchard minute. Was because really that's what it came down to. The Oilers, I thought, like up until that point, the Oilers were in complete control of that game. Toronto had really garnered nothing, and Edmonton's up 2-1. They've been playing well, and then Bouchard, no one's pressuring him. He's in the right corner, and I see what he's trying to do. But for a guy like passing's his best strength, I would argue. For him to miss a pass that bad that it hits McDavid in the leg when it's not even going to him, ricochets the nice boom tie game, and then the next play. Where it doesn't get to the puck and then not even close in the foot race. Like that was a tough minute. And it kind of symbolic of the Oilers. The Oilers will have long stretches where they play well. And then, my God, they can still revert back to being the best team in the league at beating themselves.
Yeah, they definitely have some inconsistencies to the game. And, they're like a lot of other teams where they're trying to find that consistency and in the details for 3 periods. But you know what? It's tough. I mean, Bouchard is such a special talent because, as a defenseman that, I know what it's like to come out of your zone under pressure and you watch Bouchard do it in the plays that he makes and the poise. And it's almost like the ice water going through his veins kind of at times is his strength and obviously can be his weakness at times because he doesn't, seem to panic in any situation, which, is a gift that he has that, when you pair him up with the top line, with McDavid or a Draisaitl, you need those guys to come out of their zone, clean. And he's one of the, Ekholm is obviously the next guy that does it very well. And that's why those guys eat up the big minutes and play on the, play with the top line because McDavid needs the puck in those special situations. And he has the poise and the ability to do that. But it also comes with mistakes at times. And, he's still relatively young. He's still trying to figure out his game. And it's one of those things. What do you do? I mean, it's unfortunate. I think good players, sometimes make those mistakes. And, but man, he does so much for me. And if he could just kind of get some of those details out, and his defense has come a long way, from when he's come into the league. I really was, curious to see how he was going to do in the playoffs, and he was terrific all throughout the playoffs. His offensive game, his defensive game. So, sometimes you just got to live with some of those mistakes. And if you were, I think he does so much well with the puck that it's bound to happen.
Yeah, no, it's one that's just. To me, you can't make it that time of the game. Their third period collapses lately have been brutal. You just look at, and at times mistakes that are self-induced more than anything else, and you can't happen. So I get why Paul Coffey put him right back on the ice. Usually coaches are like, hey man, we want to get you right back out there, but then you follow it up with another equally bad shift, and it's just like, oh my goodness. Now give the Oilers credit. You know what? They did bounce back. Draisaitl tied the game, so they managed to salvage a point. Mitch Marner makes some great plays in overtime to win the game. But, I look at the Oilers and I see third period leads, not comfortable there. They need more saves from their goaltender. Their top 6 wingers could be on milk cartons across Canada right now. That's an issue. Now Darnell Nurse is out. What do you make of the hit? Like, it's pretty. I don't think anybody can debate that. Like, it's a suspension. Obviously, the replay shows he clearly hit him in the head. And I understand that. I don't think he's being vicious into go there thinking I'm going to hit him in the head. But that's regardless of what you think. That's what would happen. I did see Topher Scott and a few other people saying, Nurse's head is down and he took the wrong angle coming out from behind the net. Not victim blaming, but just saying that self-awareness in a fast game is part of it. Is that too victim blaming for you? What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's never a good look when you see Nurse looking the way he did with blood coming down his visor and the fact that he was down. You never want to see anyone get hurt. It's a tough play. I mean, I like the violence in the hockey game. I like the hitting. I like the fighting. I think, a number of former hockey players have talked about, guys in Ryan Reeves' role, especially after giving up a goal, and his role is to kind of go out there and try and capture some of the energy and his role on the team is to be a physical, hockey player. And, it's tough. I didn't see anything malicious behind it. I think that part of Reeves' strength is that, he is physical, he can fight, and he's a little bit reckless, right? He is and that's a strength. I mean, I don't want to play against guys that have that ability to kind of cross the line. That's what makes them uncomfortable to play against and hard to play against. And when you have that edge to your game, then sometimes you cross it. And unfortunately, someone could get hurt as a result of it. So I don't think he meant to do it. I think that, he definitely meant to hit him. It's kind of funny. He hits with a purpose. That guy hits to hurt. Some guys hit to hit. That guy hits to hurt you. I think when he fights, he punches you to hurt you.
Yeah.
I've been in a number of different fights. I've hit different guys. I don't think I ever wanted to necessarily hurt someone, but when I'm hitting them and punching them, there's a chance I'm going to hurt them.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of it. So it's kind of funny to say hey, let's fight. I'm going to try and punch you in the face.
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt you, but I might hurt you.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with it.
Yes.
So, that's his strength. That's what he does. He has to find a line, right? Because he's not valuable in putting his team in a situation where they're down for 5 minutes. They could have easily have lost the game, right? Now he's suspended. So, for Reeves, he's got to find how he can play on that edge and be uncomfortable and kind of get to that line and still be effective. But I like that part of the game. I really do. And it's unfortunate to see guys get hurt. I would honestly think that Darnell Nurse, because of the way he plays and throughout his career, he's probably been in a similar situation where he's probably hurt someone.
Oh God,
right? Because he's reckless. He has that dimension to his game himself. It just happens. It's a violent. It can be a physical game, and it's a violent game.
Yes, 100%.
I like it.
Yeah, no. It's a fine line. He's literally an inch away from that being a great hit. Great hit. Yeah. Right. And that's in the speed of the game. It's going to happen every now.
I played against guys where when they would hit you, I wasn't worried about them hitting me because I knew it was going to be fair. Yeah. Right. They're easier to play against.
Right.
Right. But when I played against a guy like Bouchard or guys that really tried to, finish their check with a real purpose, they're very hard to play against. They're unpredictable. And that's, and when you have that to your game, I mean, players are thinking less of what they should be doing and more thinking about what they don't want to have happen. That's just you're trying to grab every inch and edge as much as you can. And that's his strength. I mean, it's hard to say. You don't want to see anyone get hurt, but I like that part of the game. I don't want to see that game go away. I think he deserved to be suspended, but it's what happens when you play and you're that's his style.
Yeah.
And know who you're out against.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to.
You got to know who you're out against.
You have to know as a defender when you're out against McDavid. Otherwise, he'll embarrass you. Right.
Well, he's going to embarrass you a different way.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
he has a skill set and an ability that you better be ready. He's going to do some things that a lot of guys aren't capable of doing. That's his strength. Right. So you got to know giving up a goal in the fourth liner, he comes out on the ice. You got to be aware and know that he's going to be coming in hot and he's going to come in and he's going to finish his checks.
Hey guys, Bouchard should sit for one game. He needs a reset from Rob. No chance that happens, Rob. That would be awful coaching to sit your best right shot defenseman, especially when Nurse is out now. There is zero chance, zero reason to do it. Hey guys, at least Bouchard is significantly lower in his next contract from Jurassic Bark. Well, it's exactly what I said in the summertime when everyone was like, you got to sign Bouchard now, $10 million, lock it in. And I'm like, why? Evan Bouchard had an unbelievable year, 82 points, even better in the playoffs, 31. It was great. It was a career best year. He might never have a better year than that because it's a really hard, those are really lofty numbers. So why would you sign him then? When you had a full year, he's an RFA, right? You qualify him and you move on. It's not a big deal. Right? Like what's the risk? He's going to get, I know people say offer sheet. Are you sure? What are they going to offer sheet Bouchard? 15 million? Because if everybody thought 10 million was a normal number, what can you offer sheet that's going to scare anybody off? To lose him, right? Doesn't make sense to me. So you play it out how the season goes, because if Bouchard had another year close, well, he's still a $10 million defenseman. Haven't lost anything. Was he going to put up a year that would make him a $12 million defenseman? Highly, highly doubtful. Like the odds of that were extremely low. The odds of him taking a step back were much higher, because even a step back could only be 75 points. Still not a bad season at all, but it's not the same. And so in case you're wondering, if Bouchard elects to file for arbitration, which you could easily do, and he probably would if you don't get a contract right away. And just because you file for it doesn't mean you're going to go to arbitration. It's just a way to speed up the negotiation. But in arbitration, you know what the number one feature is to the arbitrator? The most recent season. So if Bouchard finishes with 60 or 65 points, well, that's a lot different than 82. And so the second year does come into play, but I've talked to agents, I've talked to managers, capologists, assistant GMs, all about the arbitration process. And the number one thing is the first year. Then number two is the second year, right? Those things matter. And so for Bouchard, you're right. In an odd way, it could benefit the Oilers if he has a year of 60 points.
I just watch Bouchard and watch how clean in the plays he comes out of his zone with. I mean, there aren't many guys on the Oilers defensive core that can play with Connor McDavid, that can give him the puck and let him come out with speed. And that's important, right? You can't have Connor McDavid spending too much time in his own zone, right? Someone's got to be able to get the puck to him in the right situations so that he can play offense. Yeah, right. And he's one of the very few guys on their team, if not the only guy on their team, that can make some real good plays and have some poise and confidence with the puck.
Yeah, well, it's true. When we return, Kevin Woodley will join us. We'll talk all things Oilers and NHL and more on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there. Now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the original, the Orangesicle, and the Marathon. Made with cranberries, bananas, strawberries, orange sorbet, and probiotic yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
Mr. Rooter plays a video game.
This is wonderful. A world where a plumber is the hero. My hat is off to you, Mario. Although I personally advise against eating any mushrooms found in a drain pipe. I won't make that mistake twice. All I've got to do now is hop over this Goomba and save the princess. What? No way. I pressed jump. I pressed jump.
For a super plumber with an all-time high score, call Mr. Rooter.
Weather forecast? Ugh. Savings forecast? Cha-ching. Save up to $225 on a set of 4 select tires, plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150 at Fountain Tire until December 14th. Restrictions apply. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
Well, get ready for a silly hockey fan. Canadiens, your partner in power, just skated onto the ice.
EWEL.ca, the new e-commerce website for electrical wholesalers Edmonton, is ready for the power play 24/7, 365.
UL skates to where the puck will be in 5 years. Now that's forward thinking.
Killer selection, slamming products from the best brands, and legendary service.
Don't sit on the bench. Get your account today at ewell.ca and win that project.
Plug into your partner in power. Get an EWEL.ca account today.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Get early access to real Black Friday prices now at The Brick. Save up to 65% off. So a matching love seat or chair. Up to 25% off bedroom and dining room furniture. Plus, save up to $700 off a big screen TV and get free shipping on TVs over 50 inches. Find 40% off mattresses and next day delivery on in-stock beds. Plus, save 3 times the tax when you buy 2 or more Samsung major kitchen appliances. Find a lower price before the end of the year and The Brick will refund the difference. Some exclusions apply. See in store for details.
The NHL in prime Monday Night Hockey returns this Monday in Montreal when the Edmonton Oilers, led by Connor McDavid, visit Nick Suzuki and the Montreal Canadiens. Tune in for an electric battle between 2 of the game's most dynamic players. This matchup is only available on Prime Video. Oilers versus Canadiens, Monday night at 7:30 p.m. only on Prime. Oilers, Canadiens, it's on Monday. It's on Prime.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantork. Since 2016, we've been at the forefront of hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada. I'm delighted to share our latest venture, in-house production for quicker turnaround, superior quality, and heightened versatility. Experience excellence at cantork.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Crystal Glass, your clear choice for residential windows, locally manufactured and installed. Crystal Glass provides a beautiful product and incredible customer services for all of your residential needs. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca for a quote.
The best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.227. Welcome back, Jason Gregor, Sean Brad. Today is a massive day. We're going to get into it a little bit later on. If you're a fan of history, I have a great little tidbit about November 18th, 1883. 1883. But a significant change in the world happened at that time. Significant. And how it impacted. Now, it did happen in the U.S., but that has a direct impact on where you are right now in Canada. So that's going to come up a little bit later on in the show today. So I'm quite excited about it. Actually, it was a very nice little tidbit of information to read. I'm all about learning things, and that was something I learned today. Let's get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by the Spruce Grove Saints. And for every Saints game, you know that if you're a fan of 50-50, you can play the Saints 50-50, which is very easy. Saints5050.com, where you can get your tickets and help support the team and win a little bit of cash. Check it out. Saints5050.com. As our he joins us every Monday, usually from In Goal Magazine and NHL.com. Kevin Woodley joins us. Woodley, how you doing?
I'm good. I apologize for the look today. It's a little bit chilly in the house. My wife likes to keep the thermostat down, so we're like all bundled up in the flannel.
Oh well, buddy, I'm liking the reflection on your eyes. It's kind of look like you're psychotic in purple. So it's kind of.
I don't know what. I honestly don't know. I don't know what's that doing.
It's like, is this guy possessed right now? The goalie guy.
We don't need to actually see. So
there you go.
Take the glasses off.
There you go. Yeah. That looks a little bit better.
Now I can't actually read anything.
Oh. A few things. So I want to talk about the Oilers Toronto game. Oiler fans are the third and fourth goals on Skinner. So the third goal, it's coming off of that rush right up the ice, and they go around Skinner. Looked like he was coming out to challenge aggressively. They deke him. I don't know enough about how much space you take on breakaways or not. And then a lot of people are like, well, he was out there, but then on the Marner goal in overtime, he was in too deep. What do you make of the two plays? Is that right? Or are they missing something?
Tell me if we've heard this before, but rush reads have been a bit of an issue, right?
Yes.
And in both cases, these are rush reads. And I honestly, this is why we started pro reads and in goal, so that we could take plays like this and talk to goalies about what they're thinking, what they're reading, what they're anticipating, and why they make the decisions they do. And so I'd love to defer to him and ask him what those were. My hunch, my Monday morning quarterback from the couch, especially on the third one, is it looked like a guy caught off guard to me, Jason, in terms of expecting that to become a breakaway and getting caught in no man's land. Now, normally on a breakaway, and we're going to talk a little bit about rush decisions and depth decisions overall in a minute, because I'm seeing goalies a lot smaller than him defer to playing deeper and not have a lot of backwards flow on, say, a 2-on-1 rush like the overtime winner. But on a breakaway, most guys, almost all guys to varying degrees, you want to get out, take ice, and match your retreat with the speed of the attack. And ideally, perfect world situation, you have got heels at the top of the crease, maybe just inside the crease, as that attacking player gets around the hash marks, what some goalie coaches will call the decision-making zone. And if you can have that depth at that point of the attack with a little bit of backwards flow, ideally what you want to force, you've got enough ice there, especially at Skinner's size, to force the guy that he doesn't see a ton of net and he wants a deke. Because a deke goes one of two ways, left or right. A shot can go high glove, low glove, between the legs, by the ear, blocker side. Shot can go anywhere. You're purely reactive. But if you can hold edges long enough and force a guy to go left or right, as skilled as they are and as much as they can get you going both ways, it really is, with enough patience, a left or right decision. And that's what a lot of goalies try to force. When I look at that play, I don't see any of it. It looks like a controller was broken situation. And to me, that's just, hey, my guess would be I didn't anticipate that becoming a breakaway. And it was kind of a weird play through the neutral zone with the defenders. And yeah, he didn't handle it right. He didn't have enough flow to get back to his post with a push, and he just got caught kind of flat-footed.
And then the Marner one?
Yeah, and this again, I'd love to ask him, because you're right, he's a little deep. That's a hell of a shot, right? Like, goal scorers just over the pad on the blocker side, just inside the post, goes in on a lot of guys. What makes it look more awkward to me, to be honest, Jason, isn't the depth necessarily so much as the way he executes. He drops the right knee so that he's loading the left edge, which isn't a bad play. It's almost like what we would call a VH, old school deadline. This is how they used to do it on dead angles. Goalies would sort of load that post leg up against the post as a push and drop the inside leg to have low coverage. Carey Price used to do this off the rush all the time. We've got pro reads with him where in some ways you're sort of taking away short side high by having that leg up and the glove above it, and you're loaded for a push across. It looked to me like he was loading into that play as Marner's shooting, and he basically takes that right skate, right knee, and drops it in and out of the position where he would have been covering or had a better chance to cover far side net. So that, again, looks to me like a rush read, and maybe a little early with that execution, as opposed to waiting, and easy for me to say from my couch, but waiting until that play is deeper in the zone to load up that push leg in that sort of old school VH save technique. I don't hate the idea. It just looked like it was a little early, and that gave Marner a little more space. At the end of the day, such a perfect shot. Maybe it doesn't matter, but a little more space than he would have had if he waits a little longer on it.
Okay. Right now around the league, Kev, there's some, goaltending and numbers. Some guys getting on hot streaks, and then some guys get struggling. It happens all the time. You're seeing it right now in Vancouver, for instance, right? She lost at 850. Lankinen had a great start, but then 3 of his last 4 have not been good enough by the standards that they want. So I guess, do you have an update on Demko? Do you think he's going to see action before the end of the month?
Don't know for sure. There seems to still be a lot of mystery. I've watched a couple of practices, and he is doing everything with the exception of one. There's one part of his game that I haven't seen yet, and that doesn't mean it's not happening. Like I said, they've done a good job of a lot of the goalie practice sort of not keeping him out there. And I missed one on Friday where Lankinen took a day off and Demko was the goalie throughout. The only thing I haven't really seen is what we call a reverse track or a double seal, where and there's a lot of goalies in the league that can't even do this, but you put basically one skate on each post and your pads are along the ice and you take away the entire bottom of the net and you can go from side to side and look over each shoulder when it plays behind the net. Demko was as efficient as anyone in it. I believe that's actually how the original of the 2 knee injuries that took him out for the final month of the season occurred. And I do wonder, is it because he's not ready to get into it? And is that the final piece they're waiting on before he gets back? Or they're just taking that out of his game because of all the stress it puts on a lower body that's had a lot of injuries. I'm kind of curious to see that myself. My hunch, obviously we're at the end of a 6-game homestand here tomorrow against the Rangers. My hunch is you see him return on the road, which takes a lot of focus and eyes off him depending on how they handle it. I think it'll be on this upcoming 6-game trip through early December.
Okay. Kevin Woodley from Ingo Magazine and NHL.com. I want to get your thoughts on a guy who all the numbers would suggest might be the best backup goalie in the NHL right now, in Jonathan Quick.
You know what? There's a combination of things going on here. One, whether it's the starts they choose or the way that team is defending for him, and Jonathan Quick is a very popular teammate, he has one of the highest expected save percentages in the NHL. That said, he is outperforming it by a league best margin. Like, his numbers are better than anyone adjusted save percentage in the entire NHL. I mean, now you could say, oh, hey, that makes him the best goalie in the NHL right now, but obviously it's harder. All it takes is one stinker and that comes down. He hasn't had one of those yet. And it's a small sample size, but for guys that have played as little as he has, no one's been better than Jonathan Quick. And talking to people around it that know his game, I think you've got a combination of 2 factors here. You've got a goaltender who has always had that explosive ability, but he's playing a more contained style, sort of a Benoit Allaire system. We're seeing a little bit of that Dustin Wolf, an undersized goaltender who, again, the stereotype is, you're undersized, you got to be aggressive. Jonathan Quick's never been that big. And early in his career, he was hyper aggressive. Not anymore. Everything is contained. I think when you combine that tactical evolution for a goaltender with as much skill, and then make sure that you give him enough rest in between starts as he ages, you're just seeing a perfect mix right now. And like I said, whether it's the starts they're choosing or these guys really going to war anytime he's between the pipes because he's so popular, that's what leaves you with league best results. I mean, add that to Shesterkin, who's expected save percentage is like 30 points lower in his starts compared to Jonathan Quick. So like in the 880s versus like the 9 you add those two together and arguably the best tandem in the NHL right now. Not arguably, statistically too.
What with the Four Nations Cup coming up, where do you see Skinner and with the type of season that he's having? Did you see him in there? Do you see him getting an opportunity, or are there other guys that you see that have kind of taken a spot as of now?
I think he was full value to be in the conversation based on the way things ended last year. Not just getting to Game 7 in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but once they tidied up the rush stuff in Edmonton from basically the coaching change on, his numbers were really, really good. And we've talked before, we just talked about rush decisions. It seems to be the one thing that still has questions. That said, you combine his start with what I believe are 2 guys that they are somewhat locked in on in Canada. Like, I think it's going to be, and there's still time, and neither of these guys has had a terrific start. But I am of the belief, and there's a little bit of sourcing on this, I am of the belief this is going to be a Jordan Binnington, Adin Hill 1-2 punch. And the question is, who gets in as the third? And I don't think at this point, because of the struggles this season for Stuart Skinner, but also I think you could make a really fair argument that there are enough similarities style-wise, not so much how they play, but their strength and weaknesses in terms of the types of attacks they are good and not as good against, that you wouldn't take Adin Hill and Stuart Skinner together anyways. It would be one or the other, because there are things that both of them are good at and both of them aren't as good at, and there's a lot of overlap there. So why would you want 2 of the same if you're looking for a variety of options, especially with Skinner not having the start like he had the finish last year? And so that creates a lot of questions to me about the number 3, because both Binnington and Adin Hill are below expected right now. Binnington's been, but
not good.
Well, he's been great since he won the cup. And a lot of that, they were not a great defensive team after they won the cup and he held them in. It hasn't really been the case this year. So if they stick with that, as I expect, who becomes the 3? Like Cam Talbot, you talk about Jonathan Quick and the numbers. Cam Talbot right now is having an exceptional start with the Detroit Red Wings. Best numbers of any starter that's seen 300 shots so far this year, like best adjusted statistics. He warrants consideration. Logan Thompson, all he does is win for the Washington Capitals, another one last night. And yet you have one current and one former Vegas Golden Knight coach in Pete DeBoer and Bruce Cassidy, who were there when that organization wasn't necessarily enamored with everything they saw out of Logan, which led to him being moved this summer. So does that limit his chances? There are guys playing better. Even Mackenzie Blackwood behind a bad San Jose team has had some really good. So there are guys playing better than the 2 I expect to be named. And I'm curious to see which one they pick as a third. Because this isn't Russia. I know they're not in the 4 nations, but where you've got 4 Hall of Famers potentially to pick from, or even the Americans with Hellebuck and Ottinger playing really well. And even with Swayman struggling, and Demko not playing, like you have a glut of guys to choose from. If Canada's going to go with those 2 who are underperforming, as I believe they will, they better pick smart with the third one in case those other 2 guys don't turn it around.
Kevin Woodley from In Goal Magazine, NHL.com joins the other guy who's quietly had a pretty sound season. I don't know what the adjusted numbers say, Kevin, but it's Darcy Kemper in LA.
Large, yeah, and I'm going to have to put on my glasses to look at that one, Jason. So we're going to get the creepy eyes. I think that a lot of that right now, much like Talbot last year, is environment, still a very friendly goaltending environment. And the fact he can't, again, he's missed not just multiple games, but multiple times this year he's been out with injury. I just think the combination of the year he had last year and the fact there's still injuries there, I don't see him being a guy they go to in this mix.
Okay. Now looking at the orders tonight, Montembeault. Tomorrow's probably going to be Allmark. You look at the orders next 2 matchups, but Montreal has not been a great defensive team. I'm guessing the environment for Montembeault has not been overly enjoyable. I would think. What about Ottawa's situation? So what are the orders? What do you make of these 2 matchups here tonight and tomorrow?
Well, first of all, for Sam Montembeault, the environment's been right around league average, and he's just slightly underperforming it. But after a really hot start, that means it's been pretty cold of late to get to league average. The guy who's really had a tough time, both in terms of environment and performance, has been Caden Primo. He had a really good year last year. I thought he took a big step, but his expected is in the 860s, and he's underperforming it. Ottawa, honestly, they've been a lot better defensively under Travis Green. And I hate to say it, but it's because I'm supposed to have the goalie union card. But right now it's been the goalies that have underperformed that environment. Linus Ullmark has an expected save percentage of .902, which is well above league average, 15 points above, and hasn't been able to sort of even play up to that level. His numbers currently rank in the 60th in the National Hockey League adjusted save percentage. We know there's better there. There's an adjustment period that's to be expected. But he's struggled off and on, had some good starts, but more that haven't been good. Anton Forsberg with a much tougher environment, and that's just the nature of the backup job in some cases. He's a little bit below the league average in terms of his expected environment, so he hasn't had quite the defensive support that Linus Ullmark has had, but he's outperformed it. He's 26th in the league. He's actually quietly had a nice bounce back season after having to overcome that severe knee injury from a couple of years ago, and that takes time. He's been really good. They just need more out of the guy that they went out and got to provide it.
Yeah. That's kind of what I thought watching a lot of their games, of course, that, there's been, and I don't know the goalie position that well, but I'm like, geez, some of those goals going in, you would think for a guy like that they just paid H. Schmill, that they would get a few more saves from times like that. What about Vasilevskiy in Tampa? There's been lots of talk about his numbers. Where do you see him at right now?
I don't even know what his raw numbers are, but I hope they're as good as his adjusted, because Vasi looks like Vasi. As a matter of fact, actually, his adjusted numbers are slightly better than they've been even in his peak seasons right now. So
his real numbers are 920 and a 2.15 goals against. So really good.
Okay, so that's pretty good by these standards. As I keep reading articles about how save percentage is falling to historic lows, everybody thinks it's the 80s again. his adjusted numbers are top 10 in the league and amongst starters top 5. He's really, really been good. And we talked a little bit about this after I watched him play the Canucks early in the season. But when you watch him, there are changes. And I know he made a conscious decision in the summer, some sort of recognition from last year that, hey, had the back surgery. He is a freak athletically. He's like Gumby back there with power at end ranges. Like his ability to access power from fully extended end ranges and his ability to generate power when he's extended is off the charts. But he recognized that he's not going to last long if he keeps putting himself in positions where he has to. So he sought out Adam Francilia in Kelowna this summer, the same trainer that Skinner works with, and started to remake some elements of his game. And I see, as much as the explosiveness still makes the highlight reels, a taller, a better posture on initial shots and initial entries into the zone that allows him to not get as locked in low and wide and rely on that athleticism as often. There's a little more Connor Halley and Andrei Vasilevskiy, who also trains with Adam Francilia. Sort of Connor likes to talk about himself as the big boring. And I've seen a lot of games where I've watched Vasilevskiy this year and I'm like, hey, like that's the big boring part too, because he is making a lot of saves that he would get himself in dynamic situations. He's just making them look easier. And that bodes well for his longevity for a guy who's already set the record for the fastest to 300 wins. So he's having a hell of a year in Tampa Bay this year. And I think it bodes well long-term for him as a guy who's probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame.
Kevin, you talked about Vasilevskiy seeking out another goaltender trainer in Kelowna, and Stuart Skinner used him as well this summer. How common is that? Is that something, because I know every NHL team has their goalie coach. Is that just something to kind of get another take and some different information, a different outlook? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, and Adams, I mean, they go on the ice, but a lot of it is training, like sort of biomechanics and how a goaltender moves as opposed to technical and tactical. They do like to take a lot of what the work they've done in the gym. So they'll do very specific movements in the gym with some really unique setups that I can't actually share. I was sworn to secrecy after seeing them in terms of how they move on the ice and the different bands and stuff they use when they're off the ice, and then translate it directly into movements on the ice. And so it's increasingly common. Like it'd be no different than a skater having a private trainer, right? The difference is maybe it gets on the ice a little bit. Most skaters in the off season have their own sort of, physical trainer. Adam just translates it a little more into gameplay. And there's a little more biomechanics, how you hold your body, how you access different muscles to move by how you maintain your posture in certain situations. So in this case, I'd say increasingly so. I know other goalies that have had trainers that work on, whether it's Pilates or different things that they work on all around the league. But the push and the number of guys going to seek out Adam as Hellebuck has his success. I believe Vasilevskiy was in part because it was reported during the Stanley Cup playoffs that Skinner was seeing him, and that's what led him down the path of starting that conversation. So I think this is a trend right now to this specific trainer because of some of the success he's having. But there are other people around that other goalies have used for a long time, so it's not entirely unique that way. This is just more of one guy that's got a lot of people's attention right now because his guys are playing well.
Yeah, and I think it's important. Like he doesn't do a ton of technical stuff, though, right?
Right, like it's unique. The mechanics and how you there's a lot of sort of posture stuff and biomechanics stuff that feeds into technical that should put you in a position to access muscles in ranges without getting overextended, without putting extra stress on the body in a more efficient manner, to move more efficiently and be able to hold and explode out of those postures. But it's not tactical, like if they're working on the reverse VH and post exits, they're working on it to activate certain muscle groups and be able to get out of it efficiently and hit the next spot square without having extra parts in their movement. So that borders a little on technical, but it's certainly not a, hey, you should do this in this situation as a goalie against this type of attack, more of that tactical type of teaching. That's not it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Woodley. We appreciate it, my man. Have yourself an awesome day.
Okay. Thanks, guys. I apologize for the demonic looking glasses, but I can't see without them on some days.
But it's all good. We love it. That's Kevin Woodley from InGoal Magazine, NHL.com. We'll return. We got Mitch Gallow coming up in the 3 o'clock hour. Get the Montreal side of things. Cole Caulfield's having himself a pretty good year, as is Nick Suzuki. But the Habs got a fairly inexperienced defense core. Like they give up a lot. They have the second worst goals against average in the National Hockey League at 3.89. Only Pittsburgh at 3.90 is worse. The Oilers should generate chances tonight, but you can't just sleep on the Habs because they do have some skill players, as I mentioned. And so we'll touch on that. We got Spec coming up later. Also, the 2-minute warning and more on the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Sisters who don't agree on much, especially when it comes to which hockey team is the best.
Edmonton is the best, baby. Vancouver's number one.
Even when it comes to meat snacks from Wilhawks.
I love the Harris Schweiner. The ham sausage rules.
But they will agree.
Wilhauk beef jerky is the best.
It might just be the only thing Alberta hockey fans can agree on.
Others can try to imitate, but no one can duplicate Wilhauk beef jerky. Only available in Leduc. Get yours today because you don't win friends with salad.
Often when I meet people at a party or I'm hanging out at my favorite restaurants, I'll introduce myself and they'll say, "Oh, you're Grant Fedoruk from Leading Edge Physio. What can I do about this sore knee? It's been bugging me for months." First, I was thinking, when I'm out like this, I should just tweet my location so people know where to come for a consultation. But then I thought, I'm spending all this money on advertising Leading Edge. Maybe you could come by one of our clinics. That's where we have the technology and really smart physiotherapists who can give you all the advice and treatment you need. Have your people call my people, leadingedgephysio.com.
You got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk, family run since 1939.
To be not only hot,
crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the
we're going to see more meetings than Donald Trump and Elon Musk have in public.
Visit our Edmonton store.
Between Canadian
MrDirk.com. Score big on style.
Between
Mr. Dirk.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500
Between
cash
others
back
and-
on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab Elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch
Every single
GMC
tick.
infotainment system with Google built-in
We're going to
compatibility.
see-
Available off-road package with hill descent control.
That's
plus
right,
an available
foregone
3-liter
conclusion.
Duramax diesel engine.
On the Grey
You can
Cup
take the road less
85-hour
traveled and try new things like fishing
F-
or whitewater
Gone
rafting.
Fishing.
Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Jason Gregor, Sean Brown, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. Hope you're having a lovely day. Oilers in Montreal tonight to take on Le Canadiens. And that game will get going around 5:45-ish tonight. Then they're into Ottawa tomorrow. Then they come home. They have a 2-game homestand. And then they're off, a rare 5-day break in the season, which kind of comes at a good time for the injury to Darnell Nurse. So probably would only miss 4 games, I think, at the most. There's a chance he might be back for that Ranger game. You got Minnesota and the Rangers by far. Those are going to be some tough games, no question about it. So coming up Thursday and Saturday. And then they're on the road. They would go out to Utah on the 29th of Friday. They're into Colorado on the 30th. And then they're into Vegas on the 3rd. So another tough road trip again. But then they're home for a pretty good extended period of time from the 5th through until the 21st with only 1 road game in between. So we'll see. The Oilers have a chance here. Tonight, definitely, I think, is a game they should win. Ottawa's actually been playing pretty well. If their goaltender would make a save, I think it would be a little bit easier for them. So we'll see. Jason Gregor, Sean Brown, Sports 1440. Pickard going tonight, which means Skinner is going to go tomorrow. Nurse is out, so Emberson and Kulak, Brownie. The third pair, we had a lot of people texting in 833-401-1440 with Dermott the left shot, Stetcher and Brown are the 2 right shots. How much ice time do you think that third pair gets tonight?
Oh, gee, yeah, they're definitely going to ride Kulak and Bush and Eki for sure. I'm not sure. I think it will depend on how the game goes. The guy that I don't see getting a ton of ice is Brown, obviously. I think that I hated it when you went with 7 defensemen. It was hard. I mean, your top guys are going to get a lot of the minutes. It's the 7th guy that, you get kind of spot duty, and it's always tough when you're just playing, it's hard to get in a groove and get into the game. So I think that Brown's going to, be used sparingly. But yeah, I think a lot of it will determine on, how the game goes, penalties, are they up, are they down? But I don't see them getting they're going to ride those top 3 guys a lot.
Yeah. Emberson's game I felt, what? There probably was too high of expectations to start him out in the second slot, but I felt he's gotten comfortable and has looked more comfortable every game here. Now, tonight and tomorrow, the next few games without Nurse, he'll have to elevate a little bit. But, the other thing that maybe got overlooked a bit was the Oilers penalty kill now has actually had a few games here where they're not bleeding all over the place. And, you have to start somewhere. But at least there's some signs that the penalty kill is starting to come back a little bit to being at least not a complete tire.
Yeah, there's the details are getting a little bit better. They seem to be more on the same page as far as, the reads on when they should jump and when the next guy should go, which is obviously important. I think they're, doing a better job of being more committed to getting into the shooting lane and blocking shots. But it's a good opportunity again for some of these guys to kind of take advantage of the situation where, where Nurse is out and he eats up a lot of minutes and they're going to get an opportunity. I think that, I think they've had moments where they've handled it really well. And they've had moments where, they don't look overly comfortable. I think that, for me, and getting back to Eki and Bouchard, their strength and what they need more of is guys that can kind of handle that pressure, that forecheck, and, they have the ability to exit their zone, clean. I think, when I watch the game and, the teams that really forecheck and get in on them, Dermott and Emberson, struggle at times with that pressure and making some of those plays. But it's a good test. I think, depending how long Nurse is out, they obviously, them as well as a lot of other teams in the league are looking for that defenseman to kind of, that one defenseman that can kind of come in and kind of place everyone where they need to be. So it'd be interesting to see if these guys can step up collectively while Nurse is out.
Yeah. Let's get to the 2-minute warning brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace. Stay warm all winter. LegacyHeating.ca. Cam Tate, of course, longtime journalist in town, has cerebral palsy, is in a wheelchair, has always wanted to be on radio, but his disability in the past didn't allow that until now. The wonders of technology allows Cam State's words to come to life in the 2-minute warning.
Oh, it's Monday. And that only means one thing only. Here at the big 2-minute warning in November, it's time to once again to have Rick Campbell on the hot seat. Only, of course, he wants if he to be hot. And as a friend of Campbell, I hope he wants it to be not only hot, but comfortable. It's the day after the Grey Cup. How's the old head? Aspirin, perhaps? We're going to see more meetings than Donald Trump and Elon Musk have in public. Between Canadian Football League owners' meetings, between owners and presidents, presidents and general managers, new general managers and new coaches, coaches and quarterbacks, and on, here in Elkville, with a new mayor in town, owner Larry Thompson, and a new sheriff, President and CEO Chris Morris, looking at the clock smack in the middle of the town, with each second becoming louder and more desperate with every single tick. We're going to see pieces of the puzzle snug. So we're going to have a few announcements here. Soon, darn soon, Ed Hervey, Grey Cup Week's best kept secret. Yes, right, foregone conclusion. On the Grey Cup 85-hour pregame show, Sunday Farron Log of TSN said he's heard Hervey isn't doing any work for the Hamilton Ticats. We should find a Hamilton freelance photographer to shoot Hervey's door to see if a gone fishing sign is permanently, as in forever and ever is up. I think Hervey even might be in Edmonton now getting ready for a hearing with Sheriff Morris. He'll get an interview, has to be a leading contender. Now Morris will do his due diligence and ask Hervey who his head coach would be. Hervey hired Campbell 2019 as BC Lions head coach in December. Are you picking up what I'm lying down? It's going to happen, and it answers a question Campbell's dad, Hugh, had in June when he was in Edmonton. As we said goodbye, he said, I don't know when I'll see you again. Interesting. I have a hunch. Could be sooner than later. Your 2-minute warning, Monday, Friday, Jason Gregor Show, Sports 1440.
The Elks decision, I expect it to be this week. I know Chris Morris did give himself the deadline of next Monday, and so he might use it, but I won't be surprised if it's later this week. And I do think it's going to be Ed Hervey as the GM. Can't lock down the head coach, obviously Rick Campbell, but it depends on what's going to happen in BC. Now he was the co-GM. They had two gentlemen as co-GM, but neither one of them is the GM now, right? So their assistant GMs got promoted to be the GM, which is kind of weird, but makes sense. I'm a firm believer your head coach should never be your GM in today's CFL. All you have to do is, who are the two worst teams in the league this year? Two of them? Well, yeah, Calgary and Edmonton. What do they have? Coach, GM is both. It doesn't work. No one should do it. Stop doing it. So any guy who thinks he can do it, just say thanks. You're not going to be successful at it. It does not work. But, I could see Campbell being a guy if he's out of BC. And I think if Campbell comes, then he's probably bringing Maximic as his offensive coordinator. And then I wonder if Campbell doesn't come, does Maximic come as the head coach? So those would probably be my two leading candidates for the head coaching job for the Edmonton Elks. Let's get to the con man and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Booster Juice. 25 years. And they continue this up, man. They had unreal. They had 25 days. They gave all sorts of great prizes, but they still have the classics ready for you right now, where you can get either the marathon, the original, or the cream skull. At Booster Juice, download the Boosters Reward app today.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
Game day, the Edmonton Oilers in action, taking on the Montreal Canadiens. Puck drop just after 5:30. We've got pregame coverage for you, getting going at 4:30 here on Sports 1440 with Andrew Walker and Jason Gregor. Elsewhere around the NHL, the Bruins host the Jackets. Avs in Philadelphia. Stars taking on the Ducks. Caps head to Salt Lake City, and the Red Wings taking on San Jose. Edmonton Oilers head coach Chris Knobloch says he expects Darnell Nurse to be out 5 to 10 days after a hit to the head from Toronto forward Ryan Reeves on Saturday night. In the meantime, the Oilers have recalled veteran defenseman Josh Brown from Bakersfield. In the NFL, Week 11 wraps up down in Texas for the Cowboys hosting the Texans. That starts at 6:15. The New York Giants have benched Daniel Jones and named Tommy DeVito as their new starting quarterback. That one came in earlier today. Jones will be the team's third-string quarterback, Drew Lock remaining in the backup role. And in the association night, the Raptors look to pick up win number 3 on the season with Pascal Siakam and the Pacers in town. Tip-off at 5:30. Elsewhere, Knicks host the Wizards. The Heat taking on the 76ers. Bulls head to Detroit. Bucks host the Rockets. You got the Magic and the Suns. And the Clippers taking on the Golden State Warriors. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Mitch Gallow of TSN 690 in Montreal and ask 5 questions. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
This is Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Gateway Toyota treats us like we're precious gems.
Because that's what we are.
Every vehicle purchased from Gateway Toyota includes enrollment into their GEM program. It stands for Gateway Exclusive Membership.
And it gives you 5-year access to over $2,500 in benefits.
Free oil changes.
Free tire and windshield repair.
Free car washes.
Even an annual detailing.
You'll also get special discounts, trade-in bonuses, and referral rewards.
I feel like a gem.
At Gateway Toyota, just off Calgary Trail at Ellerslie Road.
Raise a smoothie to any friend you've had since 1999. That's a good friend. And Booster Juice was there. Now celebrating 25 years in Canada and more than 450 locations from coast to coast. A silver anniversary splashed with lots of oranges. Celebrate 25 years of Booster Juice with the return of OG favorite smoothies like the Marathon, the Original, and the Orangesicle. Made with oranges, orange sorbet, and vanilla frozen yogurt. Happy 25th Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
Introducing the Female Super League. Female hockey is on the rise with more women playing the game than ever. Join us as we pave the way for the future of women's hockey. The FSL is more than a game. It's a movement and an experience for the motivated female athlete. Teams will compete in a showcase-style format featuring consistent interprovincial competition. Come be part of the journey as the 2024-25 season unveils a 12U division, as well as the launch of a groundbreaking progressive body-checking 14U division. For more information, visit femalesuperleague.com.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m. Hockey is back. And Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Prime Fasteners and Tools, your trusted source for the latest Milwaukee products and deals. Prime Fasteners and Tools offers power tools, accessories, storage solutions, and the fasteners you need to get your project done on time and on budget. Whether you're a contractor or a weekend warrior, everyone is welcome at Prime Fasteners and Tools. For the best Milwaukee experience, visit Prime Fasteners and Tools, located at 12304 184th Street.
The NHL and Prime Monday Night Hockey returns this Monday in Montreal when the Edmonton Oilers, led by Connor McDavid, visit Nick Suzuki and the Montreal Canadiens. Tune in for an electric battle between 2 of the game's most dynamic players. This matchup is only available on Prime Video. Oilers versus Canadiens, Monday night at 7:30 p.m. only on Prime. Oilers, Canadiens, it's on Monday. It's on Prime.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Jaffa Machinery. Jaffa is digging deep on their 50-year history of supporting Alberta's construction industry with their line of special edition blackout excavators. Visit jaffamachinery.com for all the details.
Hat tricks, touchdowns, and home runs. Get it all with the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Just after 3 o'clock, game day on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. It's the Gregor Show, presented by our title sponsor, PlayAlberta.ca. You can get in the game and use the promo code Gregor50, and you'll get a free $50 play at PlayAlberta.ca. As, of course, the Oilers in Montreal tonight. And no surprise, the Oilers are favored on the road in Montreal. Pretty heavy favorite, actually. But funny enough, games in Montreal as of late haven't gone great for Edmonton. They've won, but how about McDavid in their last 7 games? -9 combined.
Oh, I did. Wow.
That's like the odd stat of the day. I don't, it's kind of surprising, but yeah. Now, it was -3 in one game. Remember, they lost 6-2. So, that maybe that's it, but it's an odd stat that even in he was only +1 in one of those games. So something tells me McDavid's game is those guys know the best player. They know how they've played in certain buildings at times. So I would think he'll come out. They got 11 forward. So, you get a little extra shift here or there to stay in the game against a Montreal team that hasn't had great goaltending lately, that hasn't had great team defense. They have the second worst goals against average in the National Hockey League at 3.89. Only Pittsburgh's worse at 3.90. So, Edmonton's going to get their chances. It's just a matter of will they finish their chances tonight? We shall see. We got a lot of texts coming in. Hey, guys, if Skinner doesn't get things turned around here, do you think the Oilers would look for another goaltender from Brad? Well, I'm going to say they'll give him time to try to figure it out. The fact that they're in a playoff spot and their top 6 wingers haven't given a sniff, their abilities to hold leads haven't worked out. Skinner struggled at times, no question. So I don't know. And who are you going to get? That's the other thing. I don't know if they're going to make a trade just to bring in another guy for the hope that maybe is better here, right? Like a team right now isn't trading you a starting goaltender that's any good. Right. So I don't see that happening.
I think Stewart's fine. I don't, his game isn't exactly maybe where it should be, but I think as a whole, I don't think the Oilers game and the details in their defensive game and structure isn't overly consistently great either. And I think that, they're hanging around right now, but there's no question that, they need a top 4 defenseman. And by getting a top 4 defenseman,
well, Kulak and Nurse have played very well together.
They played very well, but I think Kulak being, the 5-6 defenseman and getting, a more of a top 4 kind of puts everyone in a better situation.
There is no right D top 4 available. There's none. I've looked around the league.
Well, yeah.
So you can't get one. Like, who are you going to get?
You don't think something will eventually, are they not just kind of buying time?
Well, no, but I've looked at the teams like pending UFAs. There's not one who's a top 4. Who's a pending UFA, who's a top 4 right defenseman who's better than Brett Kulak. Not one. Guys with 1 year left, there's Rasmus Anderson in Calgary. No chance the Flames are trading him to Edmonton. It's not happening. I haven't looked at guys who had like 3 years plus left, like an Ekholm, to see if there's somebody like that. But I just go, and all you got to do is go around and you look at teams and you say, okay, well, which team? So the Ducks are terrible. They don't have a right defenseman you want. The San Jose Sharks don't have one you want. The Montreal Canadiens do. Like, unless you think David Savard's a top 4 defenseman at this time, which I don't. Montreal doesn't have a guy.
Yeah, he's just coming back tonight, right? From injury, I think.
Yeah, but he's not a guy that I would look at to say, okay, he's a top 4 defenseman. You look at Buffalo, no, right? Yoki Haru is not a guy that I look at as a top 4 defenseman, right? Who's better than him. So that's the problem. Is even you start to look at the teams and say, well, even if there was a guy who had 3 years plus and you have to give up a lot to get him. Are any of those teams? Like I was looking at Seattle, right? And you know what? The one guy you'd love is Adam Larson, but he just signed a contract extension there, right? They got Brandon Montour, so they're not trading him. Jamie Alexiak's a big guy, but he's a left defenseman, so he doesn't fill the right shot side. They don't, I like Will Borgen, physical, tough, but is he a top 4? I don't think so. Right. So that's like, honestly, man, I've looked at I just don't see. Now there's some I haven't looked at yet, but like now the one team I wonder, although they're currently in a playoff spot or right by there, is the New York Islanders. And would they ever consider it'd be a bigger deal? Would they have any interest in a Pulock deal? That would be a major trade. You'd have to give up something significant, but that's a guy, because I don't think they want to give up Noah Dobson. I know he's going to, and the Oilers can't afford. The Oilers can't afford Dobson because they can't afford Dobson and Bouchard. They're both RFAs at the end of the year.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah, he's too young and too good, too much potential.
Yeah, and Scott Mayfield's a good D-man. I don't think he's a top 4, although maybe in the playoffs he could be your number 4, but he's $3.5 million. He's got 4 years left in his deal. I'm not sure how it's going to age very well. So there's just not a lot of options. If anybody out there seen one, please text in at 833-401-1440. Because you got to have some hope. I think Brett Kulak on the right side might be their best option.
Really?
Yeah.
They're definitely playing well, and he's having, a great personal season. I just think for myself, there's got to be then your 5-6 are gonna.
Well, you have to go trade for. You would go trade for. You kind of go trade for another Kulak is what you do.
Yeah.
Right. Now I know Peterson in Pittsburgh, and Marcus Peterson does fit the categories. He's a UFA D man. So there's a chance there. I get different reviews from him from scouts. That's and like vastly different because I don't watch Pittsburgh enough. Right? You can look at the underlying numbers. The underlying numbers are what they are. They don't always tell you everything that you want. Right? But also Marcus Peterson shoots left. Right? Now I know he can play both sides. He's a shot blocking guy. He's huge. So he would be an option because then you could have 2 guys that maybe between him and Kulak, one's the second pair right D-man, one's the third, and maybe they switch at different times.
Well, you definitely, I think they need some size back there. Too, because when you look at Kulak, Dermott, and Emerson, they're small. And when teams get in there on the forecheck, they get knocked off pucks.
Kulak, I've never seen struggle in the playoffs. I'm not worried about his size in the playoffs. He's been great in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he took him, he had a great playoff run last year, but they need some size. They need some size and some beef, and they need someone that can come out of their zone a little better than with what they got on 5 and 6.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh no, I'm not saying they don't get a D-man. I think they're going to get a D-man. They just might not get a second pair right D-man.
Yeah.
Right. For sure. I could see them adding 1. And if Kulak's in your top 4, I could see them adding 2 guys because I'm not sure that they might even add 2. Now, Emberson is coming around on me, right? And so if you have one guy at 6 feet and the other guy in the pair 6'4", then you're probably fine. But
you don't think Emberson gets pushed around a little bit? You think he's strong enough?
Well, it's a fair question. Right? Like if he, if I can go out and get 2 veterans just in case, I wouldn't be opposed to it at all.
I don't know if I've seen enough for them that I wouldn't. I feel like I said, if I don't know who it is, I like Stetcher. I like his compete. I like his battle, but I'm not so sure he's the guy either.
No, him and Dermott aren't playoff guys.
Yeah. I mean, but the problem is like as much as the Oilers are looking for it, everyone else in the league is looking for it as well.
Oh, well, yeah. And that's what becomes a challenge, right? It's not just as easy to say, hey, we're just going to go get this guy.
Yeah.
Right. Like but guess what? As we showed with the Ekholm deal, you can do it. Hey, Gregor, what do you think about Connor Murphy? Yeah, Murphy. Yeah, I don't mind Murphy. I'm not sure how well he moves the puck is my thing on Murphy, but I do have a good scout that I trust in Chicago. So I might, it's hard sometimes to evaluate a player too, when you're on the worst team in the league, right? If you're not an offensive minded defenseman and you're on a bad team, Brownie, your underlying analytics numbers can look very bad. Doesn't mean you are, but it's just because your team's getting caved in all the time.
It's different playing on a team that's struggling and is losing. I mean, you look at Jeff Skinner there, right? When you're on a losing team, it's you can play a little bit different because the accountability and the details aren't, where, the top teams are. And I think that we're finding that out with Skinner right now. I think he's a good player, but on a good team where the expectations and the details and the battle and the compete mean not much more. I think that's something that, he's figuring out in his game, the consistency and what he needs to do that, to play at, on some of the top lines.
Well, I think with Skinner, turnovers in the games he played in the top six, turnovers were his biggest issue. Not necessarily the huge defensive reads, but turnovers. And that should be his bread and butter, is when he has the puck and he's just giving it away. He's making too many hope passes in my eyes.
Yeah.
And so maybe that was, hey, I'm playing with those guys. I got to try to get into the puck. But then I look at it and say, okay, so that's happened for a while. In the meantime, all the guys who've been given the rope all year long in the top six wingers have accomplished jack squat. Their numbers are terrible. If at the end of the day, your job is to at least produce something, you can't just be Puljujarvi in the top six and have good analytics, and that's good enough. It isn't. Look at Connor McDavid's numbers since Puljujarvi left. Okay? You need somebody who finishes with you in the top six. And right now, Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, Arvidsson got a little bit better before he got hurt. Podkolzin, and none of those guys. Skinner's outscored all of them, and he's played the least amount of time with the top guys. So at some point again, Knobloch will have to be like, you know what? I might just have to bite the bullet, have a conversation. Jeff, I will play there, but it can't have the turnovers. Because that should be an element of his game. I don't expect him to be great defensively. He's never been a huge guy on the boards. He's not going to win tons of board battles. So I'm not going to ask a player to be what he's not. But guess what? The one thing he has done historically is score. So I'm going to bet on that when right now I got guys shooting blank after blank after blank after blank after blank in my top six.
But he still has to compete and he still has to be strong on the board. Like everyone has to be able to protect pucks, hold pucks, be strong on it. I don't think just because you put up points, you get a free pass on it.
Sure, but the guys who don't put up any points, does just winning the odd board battle mean, well, now they should just get a free pass to be in the top six forever? There's got to be a middle ground at some point, does there not?
Yeah. I wouldn't have, for him to be effective, he's got to play on the top. I think he should be on the top two line.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Podkolzin, I don't have a problem with the way he's playing. Janmark, the grit, right?
Well, Janmark's been on the third line. Janmark's been one of their best forwards production wise. Like he's third on the team in 5-on-5 scoring amongst forwards. Like I have no issues with him. Now, do I want him as the long-term answer in the top six? No. But heck, he might be the guy then, because I just wonder how long the coach will be patient with these, especially with McDavid and Draisaitl scoring as much as they have here in the last 4 games. These other guys still producing squat. At some point, something has to give. Like you can't just be giving top 6 minutes and never produce.
Yeah. Well, and Janmark's a guy that can kind of go up and down in the lineup. Why not move him up and down, right? To create that competition, to create that, where guys don't feel comfortable. That's what, that's the strength of their team. And that's why they, when you look at the forward group, there's tons of depth there. Right. And so you have the ability as a coach is to be like, hey, you know what? You're not producing. We got some guys that, hey, we're going to fit in there and, give them an opportunity.
Well, you might have to. Yeah. At some point you need something. Now, maybe tonight's the breakout game, but they need some guys to get going. It's just that simple, right? You need Skinner to make more saves. You need the wingers in the top 6 to score more. You need you need some better consistent play at key times from their team in the third period. And the thing is, they're still 3-0-1 in their last 4. Like, it's not like it's the end of the world. The sky isn't falling for this team by any stretch of the imagination, but there should be a higher level of account. Like their standard in Edmonton, I don't think they're meeting their standard enough. That's my opinion on how they played as of late. They're getting wins, yes, but I don't think they're meeting what their internal standard should be. We'll return. We'll go to Montreal, second worst team in the National Hockey League. What should we expect from the Canadiens tonight? Mitch Gallow will tell us next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. You can always text us 833-401-1440 in our email inbox.
Ain't it beautiful? What does excellence mean to you, and how does it impact your decisions? Friends, it's Carrie Dahl, and I know that at Volvo Cars Edmonton, excellence isn't an option, it's their everything. From customer satisfaction and sales, service, inventory, and retention, they excel in all. Congratulations, Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners.
Volvo of Edmonton.
Noodle, 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 noods. Noodle, 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 noodle,
Throw a load down to Oodle Noodle tonight because dine-in is open. Bringing every project to life requires the right team. By joining the Japa Machinery Group service or sales teams, you can be part of setting a new industry standard. Celebrating a legacy of excellence with Japa. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
Find the perfect tractor for any job at Edmonton Kubota. Their massive selection of compact tractors has something for everyone, whether you're tackling small tasks or big projects. And right now, take advantage of 0% financing for up to 72 months. It's never been easier to get the power and reliability you need. Come down to Edmonton Kubota today and drive away with a tractor that's just right for you. Edmonton Kubota, where your perfect tractor awaits.
Weather forecast? Ugh. Savings forecast? Cha-ching. Save up to $225 on a set of 4 select tires, plus a bonus $50 off any service of $150 at Fountain Tire until December 14th. Restrictions apply. Fountain Tire. We're on this road together.
Experience more at the Edmonton Expo Center. Come for Canada's largest trade show, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. Stay for the experience. But it doesn't end there. Maximize your brand exposure with Edmonton Expo Center's new cutting-edge feature screens, spanning Western Canada's largest venue space. Captivate an annual audience of over 1 million visitors during iconic events like Pro Rodeo, Disney on Ice, Glow, K-Days, and so much more. To learn more, call 780-660-0514 or visit EdmontonExpoCenter.com today.
At Papa John's, better is our specialty. Try our butter chicken pizza, the meats, the works, garden fresh, and more. Each special in its own way, just like you. With that ooey, gooey, crispy, crunchy taste, fresh, never frozen dough, and quality topping. Special has never tasted better. And so, for a limited time, get any large specialty pizza for just $17.99 with promo code LG1799 at papajohns.ca. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get you some Papa John's.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
The Nissan All-In Clear-Out event is on now, where you can lease or finance select remaining 2024 Rogue from 0.99% for 24 months. Plus, qualified Nissan owners may receive up to $500 in loyalty bonus. Go all in with the Nissan Rogue and enjoy the 1.5-liter VC turbo engine for a perfect balance of power and efficiency. And with standard all-wheel drive, you're ready for wherever the drive takes you. Conditions apply. Quantities limited. See Nissan.ca for details.
Visit your local Edmonton and area Nissan dealer for more information.
The NHL and Prime Monday Night Hockey returns this Monday in Montreal when the Edmonton Oilers, led by Connor McDavid, visit Nick Suzuki and the Montreal Canadiens. Tune in for an electric battle between two of the game's most dynamic players. This matchup is only available on Prime Video. Oilers versus Canadiens, Monday night at 7:30 p.m. only on Prime. Oilers, Canadiens, it's on Monday. It's on Prime.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Culligan. For all of your residential water needs, your local water treatment company. More than just big bottles, Culligan.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.327 game day. Oilers in Montreal taking on the Canadiens. Calvin Pickard will get the start up against Montembeault tonight. No Darnell Nurse, no Arvidsson again. So that injury, which they thought was short term, now it's 3 games. And if he's not playing or skating today, is he playing tomorrow? I would think probably not. So that could be 4 games he will miss. So the Oilers will go 11-7 again. Josh Brown has been recalled. How much is he going to play? I'd be surprised if he plays more than 8 or 9 minutes at the most, I would think. So we'll see. But look for Stetcher and Dermott to start as a third pair. Emerson and Kulak will be the Second pairing, McDavid's line's the same. Corey Perry's going to start with Draisaitl and Podkolzin, Henrik Brown and Janmark, and you have Ryan and Jeff Skinner. Jeff Skinner still, he's in the doghouse, it seems, even though all the other guys can stay in the penthouse despite producing you-know-what. So let's go around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's. And Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, the fan deals are available, but only through the McDonald's app. Download it today and you get $4 Big Macs, McChickens, and Filet-O-Fish every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, courtesy of the McDonald's app. Also, how about those coffee drinkers? $1 coffee. They lowered their prices on coffee. Who does that nowadays?
Who lowered their prices?
McDonald's.
Oh, God.
That's right, Brownie. Look at it. Just what? Something's more affordable. Brownie is right in. Let's go out to Montreal from TSN 690. Mitch Gallow joins us. And Mitch, the Canadiens, defensively, the numbers aren't great. They have only Pittsburgh is allowing more goals per game than the Canadiens. And I look at it like some games will be pretty well. You see a few, 0, 1, 2 goals against, but then, man, when they do have an off night, it's 8, 7, 6, 6, 5, 5. Like it seems like it's feast or famine. And when they do get lit up, they get lit up a lot in a game.
Yeah. Good afternoon, guys. There's no question about that. It's been a big talking point, especially when the Canadiens are in coverage. Martin St. Louis has been trying to deploy this hybrid system where they switch from man-to-man to zone defenses, and there's been a lot of confusion inside their own zone. Last couple games, maybe it's been a little bit better. Only 4 shots on goal allowed in the first period of game against Minnesota, and then a 5-1 victory against Columbus over the weekend. I know, obviously, Columbus not world beaters by any stretch, and they were in a stretch of playing 4 games and 6 nights, played the night before at home before traveling to Montreal. So nothing to really brag about in that game, but it does feel as though things are getting cleaned up a little bit inside their own zone. But, I mean, as you mentioned, when it's been bad, it's been really bad, and they've had some tough nights, especially against some big offensive teams.
So, Mitch, any explanation as to why they're going from zone to man? Like Sean Brown sitting here, look on his face, like, what are you talking about? Like that would be very confusing, especially for a young D. What's the reason for this?
Well, it's the style in which Martin St. Louis wants to play, and he's kind of been stubborn with it, if you will, because he feels as though like you go through this growing process and you're going to learn the system that you're going to play once your team is competitive, and they know where they're at right now, and they feel as though they're going to stick with it no matter what. Now, what I'm talking about, it's like to try to explain X's and O's on the radio is pretty difficult and not something that's entertaining anyways, but basically they believe that with a man-to-man defense, it creates a lot of selfish play, and it's like, all right, you're supposed to take that guy, I'm supposed to take that guy, you didn't pick up your man, it's easy to spot the mistake, and now they'll kind of be in a zone defense when the play is down low, and then when the puck moves from down low to up high, that's when you're going to switch off and you're going to be in a man-to-man zone coverage type of situation. So it's combining the two. It is very confusing for the players at times, but Martin St. Louis insists that a lot of teams play this way, and when they are ready to compete, this is the way they want to play because they want to really focus on a team game, team style, and he feels as though a straight man-to-man doesn't do that.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit about Caden Gooley, a local product, signed a big deal, lots of talent, lots of upside. I know he was a little nicked up at some point in the season here. How is he doing, and how would you assess his play?
He's going to be such a big part of the Canadiens moving forward. And when you mentioned the contract he committed to him long term, it's been an up and down season for him. I think he started really strong, and you talked about being nicked up. He got hit in that game against the Kings a few weeks ago, left that game, and then he didn't miss much time. And since then, it's kind of been up and down as far as his play is concerned. Now, there's a couple other elements to add to why he might be struggling at times. The defensive zone has been an issue for a lot of the players on the Canadiens, Goalie included. And Goalie has been tasked with playing on the right side quite a bit as a left-handed shot defenseman. He slogged a lot of minutes with Mike Matheson on the top pairing. And on Saturday, David Savard was a late scratch, and we saw Goalie play on his strong side alongside Justin Barron, who's a right shot. Matheson was playing with Hutson, and it was Matheson who ended up going on the right. So, it's been a season where he's dealt with injury. He's been a little bit slow out of the gates. I think it's been tough since coming back from the injury. and he's also been asked to play on the right side a lot of the time. But I mean, I have a lot of time for Caden Gooley. He's going to be a big part of the Montreal Canadiens' future.
And another more or less local product too, Kirby Dach, big, skilled, has had a ton of injuries, but has once again a lot of upside. He has missed a lot of hockey. How is he fitting into Montreal?
He's struggling big time. He is really struggling, and you can still tell. We're over a month into the season, month and a half into the season here, and we are seeing the fact that he hasn't played hockey in over a year. It's been tough with him. Martin St. Louis has been coddling him a little bit, bringing him along as well as he can. He hasn't reduced his ice time just yet. He's moved him from center to the wing. He's played him on the top line. He stayed on the top unit of the power play despite not really producing. And I think it's going to be one of those seasons for Dach where he's pretty much playing catch up the entire time because of the significant injury suffered last year. Now, I think a year ago we saw Slafkovsky go through some of those growing pains as well. And there was actually talk about sending Slafkovsky down to the American Hockey League. Martin St. Louis said, no, it's not about taking things away from him. We want to try to get Slafkovsky more touches on the puck so he can find his game. I think that's what they're trying to do here with Kirby Dach. I think they're trying to keep him on that top line and have him touch the puck as much as possible so he can refine his confidence coming back here from the very, very serious injury suffered a year ago.
So I know that he's got great hands, he's got a great shot, great vision, and he's very skilled. Like if he hasn't I think he's put up 9 points in 18 games. So he's not putting up a ton of points. Does he have that other dimension in his game? Can he play physical? Can he play a heavy game?
I don't know. Like, we haven't really seen it, right? And you look at the package of the player, he should be able to add another element to his game. And I think we saw him play with a little bit of fire and anger during the preseason. A couple spirited games against Ottawa where he was hit up high and then came back onto a scrap. And you're thinking, all right, wow, this guy, maybe he can be more than a finesse player. Maybe he could be not necessarily a power forward type, but at least have a bit of an edge and a meanness to his game. Overall, though, we haven't seen that on a very consistent basis. I think it could be there, but for Kirby Dach, it's going to be about unlocking that player because I think it's deep down, but we haven't really seen it.
Mitch Gallow joins us on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook. Oilers in Montreal tonight to take on the Canadiens. Cole Caulfield's having a good start. He's got 12 goals. Nick Suzuki has 18 points in 18 games. Obviously, that's been a breath of fresh air offensively for them, Mitch. I know points and goals don't tell you the whole story. How would you evaluate the play of both of those two players?
Well, I mean, with Caulfield, his job is to score. So it kind of does tell the whole story. I think last year with Caulfield, it was a season about trying to be a better player 200 feet and be a bit better in his defensive zone. And, it was a work in progress. I think he's figured a lot of that stuff out. I mean, he's been terrific. He's been one of the most consistent Canadiens players. You mentioned the 12 goals. Maybe the goal total is going to come down a little bit. At one point, I haven't checked recently, but he was shooting around 30%.
Right.
Where you would expect that number to be around at 12% probably by the end of the season. So maybe it doesn't go in as much at some point here. But, man, when he's on the left side and he has time and space to take a shot, he picks his spot, and he has been tormenting goalies. Caulfield's been great. And the airplay with Suzuki that you asked about?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with Suzuki, this is a case where the points don't necessarily tell the whole story. I'm not saying he hasn't had good games, but he just looks like there's something missing right now. He has another gear to his game.
Okay.
He has been looking a little bit slower. There was actually a bunch of studies done on his speed decreasing from a year ago. Top speed, the speed that he plays at. I don't know what it is with Suzuki, but the point total is nice right now. But I think everybody in Montreal watches him play on a night-to-night basis, and they think to themselves, this guy has more in the tank. This guy can deliver a little bit more than he has so far this year.
Okay, and that's fair. And that's why I asked, because sometimes the numbers don't always match it. One player, there's lots of excitement. He came into the league, and there's been lots of excitement about him. Hutson, he's shimmy and shakes, and he's got the head fake, and all that stuff. But the NHL is tough for young defensemen. I don't care who you are. And I think it's even harder for young defensemen who are smaller. Now we're into the NHL season, right? Like we're past the first 10 game mark and the game just get a little bit harder. How is he adapting to life in the NHL?
He's adapted so well. And honestly, because of what you were just mentioning, I'm pretty surprised. I thought there were going to be more growing pains for Lane Hutson.
Okay.
I thought there were going to be more issues in coverage and trying to match up physically with some of those really imposing forwards across the league. And, he's been up to the task. Like, he's been so good, so consistent, and he provides an element to the Canadiens lineup that they haven't had in a long, long time. When he touches the puck, you guys will see it tonight. When he touches the puck and he starts carrying it and he starts doing those head fakes that you're talking about, the crowd gets energized. The crowd gets onto their feet, and you can notice it. Like, I haven't seen Subban to a certain degree, but not really. Kovalev was the last player I can remember being in the building where there's like a buzz when Hutson touches the puck. So as far as the consistency and what you're talking about, the long grind of an NHL season, it hasn't hit him yet. He still looks as good as he did in game one.
Gallow joins us from TSN 690. So you look at the matchup game tonight, Marty St. Louis, you got McDavid on one line, Draisaitl on the other. Who would he like to see matched up against those two?
We were kicking this around a little bit on my show earlier today, and I think they probably match Jake Evans up with that line.
With McDavid's line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they go Evans against McDavid as much as they can. But that said, if it's me, and I mentioned it before, wanting to see a little bit more out of Suzuki, I would match Suzuki up against McDavid. Let's go best on best.
Okay.
Let's see what you got. Let's see what you got against the best player on the planet. Let's see what you can do with your 200-foot game. And let's not forget, guys, a year ago when these two teams played on that Saturday night at the Bell Center, it's one of the best games the Canadiens played all year.
Right.
The Edmonton Oilers really brought out the best of the Canadiens, and the Canadiens have, not so much this year, but last year they were really able to rise to the level of play of the opposition and maybe not win those games, but at least keep them close.
Right.
I think with McDavid and Draisaitl and these star players on the Edmonton Oilers, the Canadiens might be able to do the same and rise to the occasion, maybe even if it's in a losing cause. I'll tell you this, as far as the matchup game, guys, heard you on the way in. You're talking about you said Jeff Skinner's in the doghouse.
Yeah,
he'd probably be the player I'd be most worried about on the entire Edmonton Oilers lineup. I don't know if you guys have checked out the split stats, but Jeff Skinner against the Canadiens, specifically in the Bell Center, always scores.
Really?
He legitimately always scores. Check out the split stats. I don't have them in front of me. I'm driving to the rink right now, but I'm telling you, circle Jeff Skinner tonight. He might be in the penthouse real quick after a good performance against the Canadiens. He always burns them.
Ooh, I'll have to look that up. Oh, hey, I always like little tidbits. A guy who's red hot. Why not? Because he could use it. I'll say that he could use it. He would like to get going. And what's funny is everyone says, yeah, Skinner's got to get going. He still has more points 5-on-5 than all the other top six wingers, and he's played the fewest amount of games with them. He needs to. Sure, he can play better as far as handling the puck and giveaways, but when it comes to finish, even though he hasn't been great, he's still been better than the rest. So yeah, I'm looking at it. He has 14 goals in 19 games in Montreal, including 24 points. So
see, those are some pretty good numbers. I have him circled tonight, guys. I'm telling you, I have a hunch that he's going to do it again. Buffalo and Carolina. That guy always loved playing in this building.
Yeah, well, and it's really, it's being sent, like in his last 13 games, he has 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 goals in his last 13 games in Montreal. So, yeah, there you go. I like it. Yeah, so you know what? Maybe tonight's the night that he gets off the schneid because, he could use it. Looking back, he's had multiple 5-point games in Montreal too. So, Habs fans probably a little leery of him. I see it. Great stuff, Mitch. We appreciate it, man. Have a great day.
My pleasure, guys. Enjoy the game tonight.
There you go. That's Mitch Gallow. So, Jeff, could it be a Jeff Skinner night? You never know. Some guy, it's true, Brownie. I'm sure even, you know what? You weren't an offensive guy, but certain buildings you go into, you're just like, I play better here.
It's funny and you can't explain it. I mean, obviously Leon Draisaitl in Nashville, that rink seems to work out for him. But yeah, we all have places that, you feel good in. And, there's some spots and rinks that you're like, man, I just feel like I'm pulling the Zamboni. But I agree with you. I mean, that would be great for Skinner. I was really excited when they picked him up. I like the depth. Guys that can put up points are hard to find, right? And could be exactly. He seems like a streaky guy, and this could be exactly what he needs and what they need. But it's interesting. It's funny how you play this game long enough, and sometimes in some situations with coaches, sometimes they like you. There's things they like about your game, and there's some situations that you're in where, for whatever reason, it doesn't quite work out. I'm not saying it's at that point with Skinner. There's obviously some areas in his game they need to see improvement. But let's hope a guy that could play a big part for this team, whether he plays here or maybe is he that piece that maybe eventually you move out to try and bring in a defenseman. I don't know, but for him to get going is only going to help his cause. And help the Oilers.
Yeah. Jason Gregor, Sean Brown with you, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. Come back more on the Oilers, but also on the Great Quest. And we just found out Sean Brown, legendary story. How many of you can compete with this? We'll find out next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
We all live in Canada, right? And we all know it gets cold, right? And every second that ticks by, it gets colder and colder. Well, GS Construction is prepared for that. GS Construction is the group that makes sure all those underground pipes that lead to and away from your home stay flowing. Because pipes freeze. You don't want that. So GS Construction has been hard at work as winter approaches, preparing our underground systems to run smoothly. To find out more, visit gsconstruction.ca.
A premier hockey solution with a clear path for long-term development is proud to be entering its 8th season of independent borderless hockey, featuring provincial and cross-province competition with showcase-style regular season gameplay and a strong commitment to individual skill development. It's an attractive option for those seeking family life balance. The Hockey Super League offers opportunities for both male and female athletes born between 2012 and 2017. Visit hockeysuperleague.com for more information.
At Papa John's, better is our specialty. Try our butter chicken pizza, the meats, the works, garden fresh, and more. Each special in its own way, just like you. With that ooey, gooey, crispy, crunchy taste, fresh, never frozen dough, and quality topping. Special has never tasted better. And so, for a limited time, get any large specialty pizza for just $17.99 with promo code LG1799 at papajohns.ca. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get you some Papa John's.
Legacy Heating and Cooling jingle auditions, take one for Gene Principe. Are you ready, Gene?
Ready. I'm not just here to make a thermo a couple of bucks. I'd never just microphone it in.
Take one.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Nice.
Boom! I'm a musical genius.
Legacy's going to love this for furnace season.
What's not to love with no interest and no Principe payments for 1 year?
Are you always like this?
Yep. Unlike a furnace, I have no filter.
Legacy Heating and Cooling.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine. You can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
When it comes to your health, trust Dr. Bryce Henderson for expert care in hip and knee replacements. With years of experience and advanced techniques, Dr. Henderson helps you regain your mobility and quality of life.
Your health is my priority. Let's get you back to doing what you love.
Put your health in the hands of a trusted expert. Book your consultation with Dr. Henderson today. Visit vitalsurgicalspecialist.ca or call 587-391-7864.
I take possession of my commercial space in 3 months. I need lighting. I need a fire alarm. I need data. I need a generator. I need panels.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Projects team reporting. We design, build, and construct all the electrical systems for your projects. Need everything to work right? Get the Action Electrical project team on your site.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Get early access to real Black Friday prices now at The Brick. Save up to 65% off select sofas when you buy the matching love seat or chair. Up to 25% off bedroom and dining furniture. Plus, save up to $700 off a big screen TV. And get free shipping on TVs over 50 inches. Find 40% off mattresses and next day delivery on in-stock beds. Plus, save 3 times the tax when you buy 2 or more Samsung major kitchen appliances. Find a lower price before the end of the year, and The Brick will refund the difference. Some exclusions apply. See in store for details.
Get the latest intel before the next hockey game. It's the Cross Mitsubishi Pregame Show with Andrew Walker and Landon Ferraro. Before the game, join us all season long on Edmonton Sports Station, Sports 1440.
Mustangs.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. This is one big deal for one big pizza. Get an extra large New York style one topping pizza for only $17.99. Order today at papajohns.ca.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Oh. You know what movie that's from, Conman Brownie? Do you? The Commitments? You guys remember? You guys never seen that movie? Oh, I'm looking at the two. God,
Add it to the
what
list
an
of
idiot
many.
I am for even asking that question.
What are just his shoulders
What
just
a,
slouching?
what a buffoon.
Here we go again.
Oh, I blame my, you know what, seriously, me asking that question, I should only blame myself for my own level of stupidity. It'd be like people complain, I can't believe the Paul Tyson fight wasn't good. No, you should have known that beforehand. I blame myself. It's my own stupidity for expecting you two to have watched The Commitments. You should. Both of you should. It's a great movie with an unbelievable soundtrack, by the way. But The Commitments, Brownie, I'm telling you, Wendy's probably seen it, but if she hasn't, you watch it with her.
I'll have to ask.
I'm telling you, Cons.
I thought it was a sports movie.
Yeah, no. The Commitments is an outstanding flick. It's about a band, but they have the soundtrack of that movie is unreal. God, I might have to watch it again.
I almost was going to text you because I was on a plane and I was going to text you for some movies, but there's so much on Netflix, like so many documentaries, and I watched that starting five?
Yeah.
That was actually really good. I can't get into just, a movie. But that song though, for me, reminds me of my dad. That's my dad. My dad loves to sing.
Oh yeah.
And so he sings that
really
all the time. So he'll listen to the show every once in a while. I usually give it to him a little bit.
Do you sing along?
Me? No, it skipped me and my brother. Like, I'm too embarrassed. I could never, my dad could
So
hop
you've
up.
never done karaoke?
Like, I'll do karaoke, like
if you're buckled?
Yeah. Well, I'll do anything when I'm buckled. I do karaoke at my house all the time. Like, I got a karaoke machine, and when my daughter was young, we used to do it all the time. Now she kind of is at the age where it's a little bit embarrassing, so she won't do it. But I love doing karaoke in the basement in front of my own family.
Yeah. So no, if you have a house party, you're not doing
never.
Why?
I don't know. When I get around people, I just don't.
You're playing in front
clam
of
up.
thousands of fans.
I know. I don't know what it is. I get around people and I clam up, and I'd rather just
Yeah,
listen.
suck it up. I love it. Now, we're gonna get to. I want to tell this story. Sean Brown tells, because we got a text from James earlier saying, "Hey guys, I was listening to Brownie talk about his driving around the mall. Do you know about his new boat story?"
Who is this James guy anyway?
Hey, buddy, just comes in as James.
Yeah, not too many people know about that, but yeah, you know what? When I was younger, I grew up on a cottage in Buckhorn in Peterborough.
Okay.
And we had a rowboat. It had a hole in it actually. And so we just it's a man-made lake, and we just kind of more or less just stayed in our area. So I wasn't overly familiar with the lake. There was a lot of deadheads, rock beds, and there were some shallow spots. But anyway, I bought a boat for the cottage, and didn't know a whole lot about boats, and probably should have paid a little bit more attention to the details on, about running a boat. So anyway, long story short, this is a long story, but anyway, I get it up to the cottage, and my buddy and I are up there, and it's the long weekend, and we're hanging out. So we decide to go down. There was a bar or a restaurant down at the canal. So in Buckhorn. So we go down there and have lunch, and I was young before my wife, and met a couple girls, and decide to go back to my place.
Yep.
And so we're cruising down this lake, and I'm not paying attention. I got the music. I think I'm feeling it. Me and my buddy are feeling it. These girls are following us in our boat. We're thinking, okay, we're gonna have a fun weekend, fun night. And I'm not paying attention to like how close I am to shore. And so I'm cruising, and I'm like, oh my God, that's a milk jug. And I got the thing pinned, and I run over the milk jug. Well, it was a rock bed. And so I ruined the propeller and wrecked the bottom of the boat. And so now the boat is like shaking, and I don't like water. So I'm like, oh my God, the boat's shaking. I'm like, I'm ready to jump out and swim to shore. My buddy's like, whoa, relax. So we shut it off, pull up the prop, and there was nothing left. It was just like a nub. It's completely wrecked. I was probably about 15 minutes away from my cottage. So these girls stop, and I'm like, hey, listen, can you tow us back? So they tow us back, and I wind up taking it to the marina. And so about a week later, they call me, the boat's ready. And he's like, listen, I've been working on boats for like 15 years. He goes, I've never seen anyone ruin a motor like that. And the gears up inside were completely bent. Like, what did you do? Wow. And so I told him the story, and then he's like, hey, by the way, did you start your boat outside of the water? And I was like, yeah, I just got it. I wasn't sure, I was having a hard time when I first.
Whoa. You started
I started my boat. I didn't know. I know. It was,
you grew up on a cottage?
But no one had a boat.
Oh,
None of us had a boat. Like I said, I had a rowboat.
Okay.
But so I bought this boat, and the first time I tried to launch it, it was the morning of a long weekend. And it was very busy. So I wasn't even great backing up a boat. Like, I was the guy zigzagging down. Like, it was tough for me to even get it down the boat launch. So I get it in the water, and I look up, and there's like 3 people waiting for me to get my boat in the water and get out so they could launch their boats. And so the boat wouldn't start, and I was getting a little bit stressed out. Mm-hmm. These guys are coming down, and they're like, hey, what's going on? Come on, get your boat in there, get going. We want to get going, start their day kind of thing. So I kind of panicked, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put it back on the boat. I'm going to drive back up. Once it settles down, then I'll put my boat back in the water. So in the meantime, I pull it out. We're waiting up top, and I go to my buddy, Chris. I'm like, hey, we should see if the thing even starts. Maybe it just needs to warm up.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we started it. We let it warm up for like 3-4 minutes before we put it back in. So anyway, after running over this rock bed and wrecking the prop and the gears inside, and then the guy asking me, did I start it outside, out of the water? I said, yeah. He's like, there's 2 metal parts in the water going through, and there's a rubber part that was kind of, I guess, mushroomed up and was about to, if I didn't run over the rock bed, I was going to eventually have to take it out and go see this guy eventually. And so, yeah, it was, it cost me a lot of money to kind of get that boat fixed. And I learned a lot in a short period of time, but I was young. Obviously a little bit immature, a little anxious to get to the water. But yeah, I don't know. What's his name? Kevin?
James.
yeah, I don't know how unless he was one of the guys that was up top waiting for me to get my boat out and to get his boat in the water. I didn't share that story with too many people.
Oh my God. I just love the fact you're like, look at us. Yeah, we met some ladies.
Oh my God. Honestly, it was the worst. I'll never forget. I had the music blaring, right? Me and him are feeling it. And I'm
not
like,
even paying attention.
Okay, what's that jug? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm only like 20 feet out from the shoreline here.
The girl behind you must have been like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
So
that was an expensive.
guy. Did you start your boat out of the water? Yeah, I did. All excited, like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, it was. I've done, not probably a story that I'm fond of.
That's a classic. So, what is your biggest non-sports regret? 833-401-1440. Got a few of those decisions. I'm trying to think, like, what have I done mechanically that would relate to doing that? I have to think about it. It's hard to beat. Those are pretty high bars you've set. Not only did you run into the where that you shouldn't have ridden your boat, but also started it out of the water.
And I was never like, we had this boat. I didn't even like driving. I don't know if anyone, I'm not a real boater. I actually, when the times I did take it out, I liked it when other people drove the boat. Like, I want to sit on the front. I want to sit there and just kind of take in the scenery.
Oh, yeah, clearly.
Right. And driving a boat.
Don't drive into the milk cart.
And driving a boat isn't overly comfortable either, right? Like, you're going over waves. Like, it's not I don't find it to be a very comfortable ride.
Oh, okay.
At least in the boat that I had. I mean, it was.
The rowboat's a lot more
the rowboat was, that was as good as it got for us. I can't even, and to think my parents at the time had no idea where we were.
No.
Like, they would let us go. We'd go around the island where they couldn't even see us.
Weren't you 20?
20?
I thought you said you were 20 when you had the boat.
No, when I bought. You mean
when you were in the rowboat?
Oh yeah, when I was. This was a family cottage, so I was like 9 years old.
Oh, when you had the rowboat,
yeah.
Well, you had a life jacket.
What do you think? I was 20 years old with a rowboat?
Maybe you might have been.
Hey, Wendy, what do you think of this?
Well, as Wendy said, you couldn't wheel a tire down a hill, so you never know. Let's get to the comment of Sports 1440 update. Brought to you by your Alberta GMC dealers. A Canada-wide clearance is on now at GMC. Get a $7,500 crash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab Elevation. See more at gmcoffers.ca.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Game day, the Edmonton Oilers out in Montreal set to take on the Canadiens. Puck drop just after 5:30. Our pregame coverage with Andrew Walker and Jason Gregor gets going at 4:30 here on Sports 1440. Elsewhere, Bruins host the Jackets, the Avs in Philadelphia, Stars take on the Ducks, Caps in Utah, and the Sharks hosting the Detroit Red Wings. Week 11 in the NFL will wrap up tonight as the Houston Texans head to Arlington to take on the Cowboys. Kickoff set for 6:15 p.m. And in the association, Toronto Raptors are in action, looking to pick up win number 3 on the season as they host Pascal Siakam and the Pacers. Tip off at 5:30 in that one. Elsewhere, Bulls are in Detroit. Heat host the Sixers. The Wizards taking on the Knicks. Rockets in Milwaukee. Suns host the Magic. Hawks take on the Kings, and the Clippers battle the Warriors. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet and pregame coverage with Andrew Walker. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station. CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
Need a truck? Want a great deal on a truck? Get into Wolf GMC Buick. It's GMC's Canada-wide clearance. Take advantage of 0% financing on Sierra half-tons. Oh, and guess what? GMC employee pricing is back on all in-stock 2024 Sierra HDs and Yukons. That means thousands of dollars in savings on GMC Sierra 3/4 ton and 1 ton. Also thousands off the industry-leading SUV, the GMC Yukon. Get to Wolf GMC Buick now and drive away with money off and a smile on. Just off the Anthony Henday.
At Papa John's, better is our specialty. Try our butter chicken pizza, the meats, the works, garden fresh, and more. Each special in its own way, just like you. With that ooey, gooey, crispy, crunchy taste. Fresh, never frozen dough, and quality topping. Special has never tasted better. And so, for a limited time, get any large specialty pizza for just $17.99 with promo code LG1799 at papajohns.ca. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get you some Papa John's.
Ain't it beautiful?
The inventory is unprecedented. Volvo Cars Edmonton is proud to boast an amazing selection of in-stock Volvo XC40s, 60s, and 90s. Visit Volvo Cars Edmonton today and experience the exemplary service you've come to expect and the affordable luxury only found with Volvo Cars Edmonton, Canada's only 12-time Volvo Excellence Award winners. Experience the difference.
Volvo of Edmonton.
Get the latest intel before the next hockey game. It's the Cross Mitsubishi Pregame Show with Andrew Walker and Landon Ferraro. Before the game, join us all season long on Edmonton Sports Station, Sports 1440.
The locks are on a timer. They're going to get out.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Service team reporting. With the remarkable reach of our bucket trucks and other equipment, we assess, service, and maintain your electrical lighting and automation systems.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
When interest rates are low, that's a good time to buy a vehicle. And 0% means it's a great time to buy. Right now, St. Albert Dodge can set you up with 0% financing on hundreds of vehicles. Virtually all new 2024 models. Jeep Compass, Wrangler, Grand Cherokee, and Wagoneer. 0%. Dodge Durango and Hornet. 0%. Ram 1500, 2500, and 3500 trucks, all as low as 0%. Why pay interest? Head up the trail and see how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
You've heard people say dream big and think about your future. Well, at GS Construction, we live by those words every day. You see, GS Construction lays pipes in the underground systems in your area. So we don't just think about today. We think about tomorrow and the future of Edmonton's communities and neighborhoods, the places we call home and the places we will call home. We're there when new neighborhoods are developed and return when it's time to replace them. For more on what we do, go to gsconstruction.ca.
Employee pricing is on now at GMC. Get up to $10,104 off select 2024 Sierra 2500 AT4 models. Make loading easier than ever with the world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. Make hauling easier than ever with up to 14 available camera views, including transparent trailer view. And make finding tunes easier than ever with a class-leading 13.4-inch diagonal center touchscreen. Yeah, let's get to work. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Leading Edge Physio. The team in Old Strathcona has special training dedicated to reducing the impact of cancer care before, during, and after your diagnosis. From lymphedema to the management of fatigue and side effects of chemotherapy and radiation, they can help. Learn more at leadingedgephysio.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Monday afternoon, Jason Gregor. John Brown with you in Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X and Instagram. Of course, sports1440.ca, anywhere where you get the app, Stingray, radio player app, iHeartRadio. You can download the show anywhere. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Game day tonight, puck drop around 5:40-ish tonight for the Oilers and the Montreal Canadiens. No Darnell Nurse, no Victor Arvidsson. Both guys are hurt. Josh Brown is being recalled. He'll dress as the 7th defenseman. They'll go with 11 forwards, and Calvin Pickard will get the start in goal. As we get to the spec report brought to you by GS Construction. Do you see them working on the LRT West project on 104th? Well, they are again moving, upgrading, and repairing underground infrastructure to make way for the future LRT and road alignment. Be safe through construction zones at GS Construction. As Mark Spector joins us once again. Spec, how was the weekend?
Oh, it's a great weekend, boys. How's it going, Brownie?
Very good, Spec.
Beautiful day.
Spec, it was an interesting game, man. The Oilers looked like they had that game right in control. They, you know what? They hadn't given up very much. They're probably really happy with how they're playing on the road. And then boom, Bouchard turnover, not good. A minute later, they give up another one. Now they do battle back to at least get a point, but third period relinquishing leads has become an issue in 4 of their last 5 games.
Yeah, it has, and it's a little worrisome when one of your top minutes guys is the one making that mistake, right? Bouchard, I was thinking to myself, I checked the event sheet, just moments before he made that pass, because he played a game high. I think his 25 minutes was at 36 seconds. I was checking to see, because I thought, man, this guy never comes off the ice. He's playing great. And then with 7 minutes left in a 2-1 game, he goes up the middle. Brownie, I wanted to ask you about that. Like, a lot of guys don't make an up the middle pass or a cross zone pass because they're confident, they're offensive, they're skilled, they can do that. But when there's 7 minutes left in a 2-1 game, is there anyone on the team that's allowed to even attempt the pass that Bouchard attempted the other night?
No, that's a very good point, Spec. I mean, understanding the game within the game and what shift or what play needs to be made and where you're at in the period is obviously very important. And you know what? I think we'd agree, Spec, though, that he has a skill set and an ability that, he's one of the very few guys that can make plays and get pucks into their skilled forwards' hands like no other. But that doesn't exempt them from understanding and having that maturity where, he's got to cut that mistake out of his game at that particular time.
Oh, no question. And I think the other thing for me, I'm a kid that grew up playing defense that was never any good, played at no level at all. And one of the reasons of the hundreds was my panic level, like most kids. I want to get rid of the puck. The other team's coming. I got to get rid of the puck. Get rid of the puck. I admire Bouchard as one of the guys with the highest panic level in hockey. Like, he hangs on to the puck longer than anybody, right? He has I don't know if you could ever teach that skill, guys. It is, he's got ice water in his veins. But when it goes bad for him, it looks like he's not trying or like he's not caring. And I know that's not true. I know he's trying and I know he cares. But sometimes, I'm going to say to you, sometimes that confidence and that level or that ability to never throw a puck away that you don't want to throw away, sometimes it comes back and bites you. Sometimes there is, Brownie, am I right here? Sometimes there is a time to go glassing out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But the funny part is, guys, I don't think that was the time. He wasn't pressured at all. Like, that's a play he makes in his sleep. I get it if there was a forechecker on him and he's like, "Ooh, I got to get it away." That, like, there was no pressure there. That's why it wasn't one where, "Oh, I got to get it off." It was such an odd play.
It was one of a kind. I mean, the play that bothered me a little bit more was the
next one.
The next one, where Bobby McMahon, like, if he worked hard to get back, because Bobby McMahon, I think, by being a left-handed shot, right, and the way Ekholm was chasing him and the way if Bouchard was coming back, he probably, if he worked a little bit harder, probably wouldn't have even got the shot off. That one's a little bit more concerning for me than, a guy that has the ability more often than not to make that play. That one's a tough one for sure, because I agree with you, Mark. I mean, there's not, you can't teach that, right? And it's fun to watch. And when he makes great plays, we love it. And when, we have to take some bad with a lot of the good too, but it's the second one that kind of got to me, right? Where he was very casual at coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So now tonight they go into Montreal, Spec. No Darnell Nurse. So, we'll see. Kulak's been playing great. Actually, so is Nurse. It's probably the worst time for an injury on that hit. It was an obvious suspendable play. It was a blatant shot to the head, and away you go. So Reeves gets 5 games. But now the Oilers probably at most 4 games without Nurse from the 5 to 10 day thing today. Obviously won't play tonight or tomorrow. I'd be stunned if he played Thursday, to be honest. So Friday would be a week, right? And usually it's a week after you get your bell rung minimum. So maybe he could play that Ranger game. But if not, then they don't play till the following Friday. So, that's full 2 weeks by then. So I think worst case scenario, it's 4 games for Nurse that he misses. Best case, he probably misses 3. We saw the highlights, Josh Brown, we know what Josh Brown can do physically, but when Josh Brown was up here in the preseason spec, it was not good. What's your expectations from him? How much do you think he plays tonight? How much does that third pair play tonight?
Well, the third pair will have to play a bit. I mean, it's too early in the season to play 2 pairs 25 minutes and 1 pair 9. I don't think we're doing that. I think we're doing that yet. I would say, like, the big fear here, guys, the season started and we all knew the Oilers defense was a work, an unfinished group. There's someone else coming here. There has to be. And we had this conversation 100 times. Is this group good enough to get them to the trade deadline or the time when they can bolster the defense? So far, relatively so good. Okay. Now we got an injury of one of the best guys. So now there's a big test here. And, we only saw it for, that hit happened. Geez, was that early in the second period? Reeves
early in the second period.
Sorry?
Yeah. Early in the second.
Yeah, early second. So let's say for fun, we saw 40 minutes of a defense Saturday night, without Nurse. And frankly, the guy that we're talking about that let them down was one of the veteran guys. So I didn't mind. They got through a 5-on-3. Emberson was playing on it.
Yes. Yeah.
They defended
and
fairly well.
Echo was in the penalty box for it too.
Right, Echo in the penalty box. That's why Emberson was playing. So, if that's a small window, I bet you they can get through 4 games here. How much will Josh Brown play? It's not going to depend on his fighting. It's going to depend on how he's skating and how he's playing. He wasn't very good in preseason, but he's also had a month and a half now to get his game together. Let's see what he's got. But I guess what I'll say in short is, if they're going to make it through 4 games with only 3 of their sort of veteran guys left in Bouchard, Ekholm, and Kulak, I'll tell you what, it better not be Bouchard, Ekholm, and Kulak who let the team down here. Those 3 guys have got to be rocks. The other guys will figure out, but if those 3 guys don't play well, they won't get through these next 4 games real well.
Yeah. Mark Spector joins us on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. Spec, the top 6 wingers and the lack of production. 5-on-5. Jeff Skinner's played the fewest minutes in the top 6. He has the most points, 3 goals, 3 assists. He has the most goals. He has the most points. Zach Hyman only has 2 5-on-5 goals all season. Nugent Hopkins has 1. Podkolzin has none. Arvidsson has 2. It's not good enough. Now, Arvidsson's not playing tonight. Hasn't played for last, this would be 3 games. But I look at the top 6, and you've got a guy who historically has had many good years of being a 5-on-5 scorer. Yes, he had too many turnovers. Totally valid. But at what point does Chris Knobloch got to give Skinner a redo, do you think, in the top 6 when the other guys are shooting blank after blank?
Yeah, it's time soon to start to rotate here. I really like Podkolzin's game, but the things he's doing well, Skinner doesn't bring to the table. Puck retrieval, forechecking, separating man from puck and getting it to Draisaitl. But he's got 0 goals in 18 games. Top 6 guys playing with Leon Draisaitl have to finish, right?
Yes.
It's the way it is. Victor Arvidsson, we can't pick on him because he hasn't been in the lineup, but he hasn't been good enough. And a big one here is Nuge. Nuge has been healthy. He's had opportunity. He's been on the power play, and he's getting nothing done here. He said he's generating a lot of chances. I tell you this. I tell you that Hyman's generating a lot of chances. I see a ton of chances, and the analytics back it up. I don't see him for Nugent Hopkins. So these veteran guys got to get after it here. We're almost 20 games in, and it's a slow start is over. Now you're starting to have a slow season. So it's time, Jay. It's time where you make some changes for sure.
Yeah, well, I think they have to at some point, right? And Jeff Skinner's really the only option, right? Janmark's killing it right now for the Oilers. I don't think Janmark's a top 6 forward, but as a bottom 6 guy, he's crushing. He's got the second most 5-on-5 points in the team. So you have no real issues with Janmark's game. Now that the penalty kill, it looks anyway for a few games that, they've figured things out again. But to me, you got Draisaitl, McDavid, who have now, I get if guys weren't scoring early in the year because Connor McDavid wasn't being great because he's a driver, but McDavid's been unreal the last 4 games. and he can't even drag the guys into the offensive fight. That's the concern.
Yeah, Hyman's crazy for me. Like all those tap in goals in the front of the net, the passes either aren't getting to him, they're hitting him and going out, not going in. He's doing, to me, I don't see a thing Hyman's doing differently than he did in his 54-goal season last year. I honestly don't. And I'm watching him close. The only thing that's different is the red light never goes on. So, I just don't know what to tell you. The other thing I'd say is this, you know this, Jay, Brownie, that Janmark has been awesome. And I'm really seeing a spark in Connor Brown's game. But those guys are third-line players, and they're finding their way finally here on the third line. They're playing third-line minutes against third-line minutes, and they're looking great. The solution isn't to try to turn them into first-line players here. That's not the solution. It never is. A third-pairing defenseman who plays well doesn't play better on the first pairing with 10 extra minutes a night.
No, not at all. Spec, enjoy the game, buddy. We will chat about it tomorrow and set up Ottawa.
Sounds good, boys.
There you go. That's Mark Spector, the Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. We will have the Senators GM, Steve Stales, join us early in the show tomorrow. Now, let's get to 5 questions quickly, brought to you by The Brick, saving you more on furniture, mattresses, appliances, and big screen TVs. It's The Brick Black Friday sales on right now, 60% off appliances and furniture. Check it out at The Brick.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, guys. Question number 1. Oilers in Montreal taking on the Canadiens, who are struggling a little bit on the season. If you're Coach Knobloch without Darnell Nurse, what's your message to the team before they head out on the ice?
I had the music going, so I didn't really hear that.
To me, I'm just saying, hey, man, message is pretty simple. Guys, if we get a lead, bear down in the third period. But, of course, you wouldn't say that as a coach to start the game. I think your message, I'm not focusing on guys who aren't there. You just focus on, hey, let's play this team that gives up a lot. Let's create chances and try to bury them.
Yeah, I mean, a struggling team, you want to make sure that you keep them on their heels, and you don't you don't want to beat yourself and give them any confidence in any life. So get on them. They're, as Gregor said earlier in the show, they got some young defensemen back there. Pressure them, get pucks to the net, and make it hard for them.
Question number 2. Do you think the 5-game suspension was the right number for Reeves? And how do you think the Oilers' back end looks in his absence with Nurse missing some time?
I think the 5. I think 5 games is for a repeat offender. I think is good. Like it wasn't a hit that I think he tried to necessarily hurt him and put him in that type of a situation. But yeah, 5's good. The Oilers' defense scores it's slim. I mean, Nurse eats up a lot of minutes. He's to this point in the season, he's been playing, heavier, harder. He's bring that physical element to his game back. And I think they're going to miss that. I think that, as a group, there's a few guys, there's probably 4 guys back there that, with pressure can make some plays. And I think they're going to miss that on hard forechecking teams.
I don't think it's going to be a big blow tonight. I think tomorrow against Ottawa and then Minnesota and the Rangers, as you get to better teams, it'll be a concern. So that's why tonight I think is more important to get a win for sure. And the suspension, I thought it was very fair.
Question number 3. Ovi had 3 goals last night, which is total up to 17 on the season. If you had to put it in percentages, what would it be that Ovi breaks the record this season?
Well, 13, not 17. If that's not go crazy.
Oh, sorry.
But when I look at Ovi, I thought he'd break it at the start of the season. He needs 29 goals now to start the rest of the way.
You thought he would break it?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
42 goals. It's just like Ovi scored 28 goals. Look what he scored 23 in the final 31 games last year. Like Ovi's always been elite. And I think that, he learned from it. And I think he was motivated by what they did in the offseason. They went out and they improved their team and they've improved it a lot. So Ovi, I'm going to say 100% chance. Barring injury. Injury is the only reason he doesn't break it.
I agree, injury, but he surprised me. I thought the videos that I seen him coming in the camp, he looked huge. Like, he looked, I don't even know if he necessarily, to me, looked like he was in, like, he just didn't look ready. He looked big, he looked heavy. So I'm surprised at this point in his career that, I thought this was going to take him a little bit of time. I still would like to see Gretzky hold on to this record, but
let it go, Brownie.
I know
it's gone.
The way he's playing, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd go 100%. I guess if he can stay. The thing is everyone, as the season gets going here, I don't know if he's going to stay on the same pace because I just think everyone's defensive game and the details are going to get tighter. So,
well, he doesn't have to stay in this space. All he needs is 29 goals.
I don't think he's going to get it.
Okay.
Question 4. Texans into the game tonight against the Cowboys as 7-point favorites. The over-under is 41. If you were throwing some money down, what do you think is the smart bet?
I'm going to go, if I was throwing money down, I just go with the Texans. I think is Prescott he's still injured, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's out, they're struggling, right? So I'll go with Texans.
41 the line, eh? Ooh, can they get blown out that much? I'm just not sure the Cowboys can score many points. So I would take the Texans with the points.
Final question, guys. Today is National Princess Day. So when it comes to princesses, real life movies, whatever you want to choose between, who is your favorite?
Well, did you have a boy or girl?
Boy.
Oh, you had a boy.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my little princess. I don't even know if she even listens to the show. Probably not, but her friends probably do. I'm going to go with my daughter is my favorite princess. But if I was to go with a celebrity, I'll have to go with Princess Diana.
Ooh, all right. I don't really know any of the real life princesses, so I guess I will go with the fake princess. And I'm going to go with the. I'll probably have to go with Cinderella. She overcame a lot. Terrible stepmother, not very loving stepsisters, and found the slipper. So I'll go with Princess Cinderella. Although as a second, I'm going to go with Ariel only because of Sebastian the Crab. I thought he was a great character. So there. Cons, what about you?
So I wish I was more of a Star Wars guy, so I could say Leia, but can't go away from Jasmine. I mean,
Princess Leia, that's actually a good one. God,
Yeah,
especially
that is
when when she was a slave to Jabba the Hutt. Yeah. Nice. Brownie, have a good one. Thanks for staying a little later. It's unbelievable. Get out of here safely. Don't run into any bad traffic snarls on the way home. So get some gas in your car before you start.
Oh, it's full. Diesel.
A diesel.
Diesel.
Oh, yeah. Don't put gas in the diesel. We'll return. We'll continue on. We got the pregame show. Andrew Walker will join me in the Con Man here on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Day or night, tasting just so right. You can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca, delivering you the news almost right away. Remember, you can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca. So stay on your couch all day and order oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle noodle.
Get early access to real Black Friday prices now at The Brick. Save up to 65% off select sofas when you buy the matching love seat or chair. Up to 25% off bedroom and dining room furniture. Plus, save up to $700 off a big screen TV and get free shipping on TVs over 50 inches. Find 40% off mattresses and next day delivery on in-stock beds. Plus, save 3 times the tax when you buy 2 or more Samsung major kitchen appliances. Find a lower price before the end of the year and The Brick will refund the difference. Some exclusions apply. See in-store for details.
The Junior Prospects Hockey League would like to congratulate its athletes for competing in the BCHL Showcase in Chilliwack.
Liam Pugh left circle, hold, shoot, scores!
The 18U division put on a show in front of BCHL, NCAA, and NHL scouts, and proudly represented the league as they continue to develop as players and people. Thanks to the groundbreaking Universal Affiliation Agreement, unsigned JPHL players can suit up for multiple BCHL teams in the same season. Next up is the JPHL's Winter Championships in December.
Pre-matchups are brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. For all your automotive needs, go to your trusted experts in high-quality parts, tools, equipment, and more. That's Napa know-how.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility, available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine, you can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting.
I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details. In a world where every day is a battle against time, elements, and gravity, one ally has stood strong for over 50 years. Titan Supply. In the harshest conditions, against relentless deadlines and overwhelming tasks, they equip you and help keep you working safely. Lifting, digging, or hauling. Gear up for the everyday battle with Titan Supply. Still standing strong in Edmonton, Grand Prairie, Red Deer, and Calgary. Or online at titansupply.ca.
Lift, dig, haul.
Cold, icy mornings, frozen windshields, a chance of snow in the forecast, and vehicles that won't start. You know what that means. Winter is coming. Don't get left out in the cold. Head to Napa Auto Parts today to gear up for the season. Winter won't wait, and neither should you. From premium batteries, starters, and alternators to high-quality wiper blades, antifreeze, and snow brushes, Napa Auto Parts has everything you need to get your vehicle winter ready and running. Visit NapaCanada.com, or with over 85 locations in Alberta, stop into your local Napa store for all your trusted parts, tools, equipment, and automotive needs. That's Napa Know-How.
The pregame show is brought to you by Cross Mitsubishi. Visit Cross Mitsubishi today and drive your ambition. 9605 34th Ave and crossmitsubishi.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Ewell. Ewell.ca is your power play partner with a new website that puts the power in your hands 24/7 with ordering, shipping within Edmonton and across Alberta. Score an account today at ewel.ca.
Sports 1440 presents the Cross Mitsubishi pregame show, powered by Cross Mitsubishi at 34th Avenue and 96th Street. They offer a huge selection of new and used vehicles. Check them out today. Now, here's your pregame host, Andrew Walker.
Welcome, everyone, to the pregame show. Jason Gregor alongside Andrew Walk. Oh, man, we got a lot of texts coming in still from Brownie's boating issue. So we're going to have to ask Walks if you ever had a mechanical error like that. If you're just joining us, it was unbelievable. Brownie started his boat outside the water, ran the motor for like 4 minutes. And then one time rode way too close to shore and actually ripped the propeller right off. So absolute classic. But Oilers are hoping they don't hit the ditch tonight in the third period in Montreal like Brownie hit the ditch on the shore. Walks, the third period...
boats aren't for everyone.
No, they're not, clearly, especially guys who grew up in the cottage but not having a boat. But the Oilers have been their third periods lately have not been great. They're coughing up leads. They've managed to salvage a few of them, but 4 out of 5 games you blow a third period lead, and it came back to bite them in a big way in Toronto.
It's been kind of routine. So I watch the Oilers game every night, but I'm a big sports fan. I like watching other things. And so I usually head down the block here in the mall to find the nearest sports bar. So I get multiple TVs. Tonight's a good example, right? You got the Monday Night Football game on and a few interesting matchups in the NHL. Then of course you keep an eye on the Oilers. And I always try to leave to get back here for the post-game show. So generally that final TV timeout gives me enough time to roll in here and watch the end. And I think it's been 3 or 4 games in a row. I'm leaving. It's a 1-goal game. And I'm like, it's going to be tied when I get back and I'm going to have to try to find the highlight. Sure enough, it happened against the Preds. It happened against the Islanders. And then of course the Oilers kind of turned the table there in Toronto and did the same thing. But yeah, exciting finishes on both sides. These late game heroics or lack thereof. I always like when a team, goes into the playoffs and the stat is like, oh, leading after 40, they were 33-1. And that's not really the case right now for the Oilers. Their record's not going to be one of those lock it down teams. Last year, they really turned into that.
Oh, last year, the Edmonton Oilers were 29-3-1 when they led after 40 minutes.
It was
so they only
automatic,
had 4 games they lost. They've already lost 3 this year.
Yeah.
They're 6-1-2 when leading after 40 minutes. So think of 3 times already this season. And so it is.
They give up the lead and then they win it anyway.
Yeah.
But
no. But they're 6-1-2. So even though they came back and won 2 of them, that saved them.
Right.
So
they could be 500.
Yeah, exactly. So they only you lead and then you give it up. And if you win, whatever. But to me, they've already blown 3 out of 9 leads in the third period. Last year, they only blew 4 out of 33.
Well, it's funny. You even look at this matchup, right? And the Oilers and the Habs historically have both kind of played a little loose. Montreal still does. And so it's led to these 4-3 games, right? These overtime games, 7-2, 5-2. I think 7 of the last 9 meetings, there's been more than 7 goals combined. So there's this idea still, I think, maybe not here in Edmonton, maybe some fans, but there's still this idea in the hockey world that the Oilers play super loose.
No,
but they don't.
No, they
right?
don't.
Like there was all these calls to, okay, you can score. Can you win a 2-1 game? Can you win 1-0 in the playoffs when you have to? And in the big picture, like the last few years, the Oilers have kind of done that, right? They've gotten way better at that. They won a Dallas series that they wouldn't have been able to win a couple years previous. And so that's not really their issue. They're not really playing that loose right now. It's mostly been about scoring. And then if we want to have the conversation of the big save at the big time, I guess that's apt. But it's kind of funny that they have played tight. They're among the league leaders. You've talked about it in high danger chances against. And yet, early on this season with the goalie pulled and all the chips pushed to the middle, these other teams have found a way to tie it.
So you look at it tonight, and then they also lost Darnell Nurse, right? So Nurse is now out at least 2 games. I'm guessing probably 3 minimum.
Well, they say 5 to 10 days.
5 to 10 days. So he's out tonight and tomorrow for sure. I don't think he's going to come back Thursday. So now no one said the C word, but when you get hit like that, you would think there's probably a concussion. I would think so. Usually, if it's a concussion, it's a week. Well, that a week would be Friday, so I can't see how he plays Thursday. So that's 3 games. But if everything's good, he could be back for the Ranger game on Saturday. So he only misses 3 games. Now, they don't play again until the following Friday. So do you say, you know what, man, we'll just wait an extra, 1 extra day. You'll miss Saturday, and then you don't play again until Friday. So worst case scenario, I think it's he misses 4 games. But with him gone, Emberson and Kulak are now your second pair. What do you make of the defense?
Well, you know what? It was thin to begin with. And, we talk about it all the time. You play 82 games, right? So it's not if you win or lose, it's how you win or how you lose. And in this case, it was who you lose, right? Like McDavid is one thing, the impact that's going to have. And he only missed a few games, but, they held their own, right? Yeah. Draisaitl carried the team on his back. It's this interesting thing with Darnell Nurse because this year it's quieted down a little bit, but he has been the prototypical whipping boy for a few years, mostly based on salary. And this isn't a huge, I told you so thing, but Nurse is like, he's so important to this hockey team when he's right. Yeah. And this year he's been right. And the D has to add anyway, right? Like they're in the market for another stud as the season goes on. We all know that. But when there's no Darnell Nurse and you're still kind of, fitting in the Embersons and the Stetchers and the Dermots and the Josh Browns, like it's a big loss in a lot of respects. Nurse is highly important. And this is with Brett Kulak playing the best hockey of his career, right? And even then you don't necessarily feel great with it, man. You gotta do some heavy lifting and you gotta carry the second pair now. So it's thin. It's absolutely thin. You're gonna rely a lot on Bouchard and Ekholm, and that means Evan Bouchard has to clean up a few things in his game for sure. But Ekholm, Bouchard, they're going to play big minutes, and we're going to see what happens when Kulak's playing 23 because, that's what's going to happen. I don't expect a whole lot of the other guys. Like I like Stetcher for what he is because he's been around the league. Yep. I've covered him before. You know exactly what you're going to get. Like Stetcher as a 6-7. And the other guys I'm just not sold on, right, as full-time NHLD.
Yeah, I know that's fair. Now let's get to your over/under. It's become very popular with the listeners. What's your over/under today?
It is. It's the fastest rising game show in Edmonton. That's what I've heard. Nice. So it's super easy. So it's we give you a prop or a prognostication, and it really easy. You send us one answer, one text, over or under, to the Weiss Johnson text line 1-833-401-1440. So I wanted to focus on the penalty kill. Today, because it's still last, but it was improved. They were pretty good in Toronto, killed off that 5-on-3. So really easy. We're going to set the number at 3.5. How many successful penalty kills do the Oilers have tonight against a pretty good Montreal Canadiens power play? Over under 3.5. So listen, the best penalty kill is not taking penalties. So who knows? Maybe they don't even take 4 penalties.
Right.
Or maybe they take one, it gets wiped out by a corresponding call. Even if it's 3 seconds, it's still a successful kill, right? So 3.5, that's the number. Text us over or under, and you could win $100 to the River Cree Resort and Casino. Check them out online, rivercree.ca.
Over, under. All right. So all you got to do is text in the word over or under, and you will be qualified. So will the Oilers penalty kill, who just on a little bit of a roll. They had we said this last week. At some point, you just have to start again at zero. If you just use the season-long number, you'll never be satisfied as a coach. Not that you erase the number, but you're like, all right, guys, over the next 8 games, let's try to be at 80%. You know what I mean? Like something that's a realistic thing. And so they've had 3 games where they've been fairly decent on the penalty kill.
It is the Shooter McGavin thing a little bit, right? It's like, oh, they were great against Toronto. Oh, really? They're great. Well, where are they? Oh, dead last. Oh, thanks for coming out. Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, where'd he finish again?
Yeah. We got this from Paul. Hey, fellas, do you think it's too late for the NHL to do what every other pro league does and absorb the stats from the league that they merge with? NBA, ABA, NFL, AFL, even MLB is merging with Negro League stats. That would make Gordie Howe's games played and Wayne's goal records pretty much untouchable, from Paul. Well, Paul, here's a few things. Now, games played for Gordie Howe, he would then be up to 2,186. So, yes, that one would be up there. But did you know Wayne Gretzky doesn't own the goals record? If it was NHL and WHA, it would be Gordie Howe, because he has 801 in the NHL and 174 in the WHA. He'd have 975.
Right. Gretzky wouldn't have retired then.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, fair point. Gretzky's at 946, but he killed him in the points record, right? Like Gretzky's points record, he would have more points added on to his. But let's say like Ovi right now, I honestly think 975 goals is still attainable for Alex Ovechkin. I think he's going to be at 900 at the end of this year.
Can you believe we all know he was going to do it. The question early last year are they going to be like Weekend at Bernie's dragging his corpse along, right? Which would have sucked, right? Like the end of Yager's career, the Flames killed him. But man, he's got 13. He's not like dominating hockey games, but he's scoring. And even like did you see that stop on Carlson coming back to play D the other night?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Right? He mixes that in with a couple goals.
No, Ovi looked like he's not slowing. Like he had a tough first 45 games last year.
Yes.
That's really what it was.
Yeah.
He finished great. He had 23 goals in the last 31 games, for goodness sakes. And
you know what the best thing that could have happened to, the record, not necessarily the Caps, but a really fast 4-game sweep. You weren't good enough anyway. Get out, lose to the Rangers, and that's it, right? For him, this is have one really good summer, heal up, and take a run at it. Because everyone's better off if he just does it this year. And then if and when he slows down, Washington can make their decisions without, oh God, he's 15 away. What are we going to do?
Yeah. The other guy who would be over 900 goals, Bobby Hull.
Right, because he would have had a couple hundred,
300
in Winnipeg, right?
300 in the WHA, 610 in the NHL. So he'd have had 903. So those would be the 3 guys over 900.
It's interesting. I never really thought about the merge. I guess it is. Yeah. I wasn't around, for the heyday of the WHA, so I don't really remember how people viewed it.
Yeah, it was they had Gordie Howe and Bob. They went out and got some of the big name guys, right? For sure. It was
Bobby. It was the first. He was the first guy to get paid.
Yeah,
right?
$1 million. Yeah. So the Rebel League, and when you consider that they merged, right? Because the WHA had their teams, and then they slowly had lost a few, but then they took 4 teams that were pretty solid, and they all went to the NHL. So there was obviously clearly, a decent amount of players.
Hartford, Winnipeg, Edmonton,
Quebec.
Right?
Yeah, and. So they went there. And so the WHA, it was legit competition there for a while. It just didn't have the sustainability, more so due to the owners.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the WHA really started to bring over Europeans.
Yes.
Correct? Even more so than the NHL.
Well, Glenn Sather vows he got all the offensive mindset from what the Winnipeg Jets and the WHA did with Hedberg and those guys.
And they had won. Winnipeg can't win for trying, but Avco Cups they have.
Oh yeah, they dominated there. But yeah, Hall and Ulf Nilsson and Anders Hedberg, that was the line. They were killing it. All those guys would have been. It's too bad because. Bobby Hull, had he stayed in the NHL for those years, you wonder, he would have been over 800 goals, I think. Safe to say.
Yeah. Bobby Hull, and then if Mike Bossy didn't have the injuries, it's crazy that we're going to see a Gretzky record be broken. But if there was ever one, this is such an old adage. It's an old cliche, but I still find it funny. It's like the greatest goal scorer in the history of the game. No one even puts them in their top 10 goal scorers, right?
No
like,
sense.
yeah. But even then, like you watch the highlights and it's like he doesn't feel like a 92 goal scorer. Like goal scoring was like the last resort.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the thing about Gretzko is when you talk to his teammates was, one of the most genuine, nice people off the ice. But they said, like, on the ice, like, he was an assassin. If he had 4 points, he wanted 6. Like, he didn't have let's pull back. Whereas you see sometimes, you see a team get a lead and guys who's a big scorer, you know what, not really doing it. Where Gretzky's like, no, man, we play 60 minutes. If I can get 8 points, I'm getting 8.
Do you feel there was always this? Because even now, right, it's unless there's like a bad hit and the coach wants to rub it in on a power play, like you're up 5-1, you don't put, unit number 1 on the ice late in the third. And maybe it's the social media thing and everyone needs to have an opinion, but like you got to be really careful in today's day and age to not do anything to show up the opponent or bulletin board material or whatever. And I don't know, maybe it's the social media age. I don't like, were people complaining back in the day of, the Oilers are not sportsmanlike because they're putting up 9 against Vancouver?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
No, if they were, well, I don't know who would be whining about it. Like, you play the whole game. That's why I never get upset. Now, if you're at U9, I would have a rule. I would put all my defense up forward. I'd put all my forwards on defense. And I would tell us we have to have 3 passes in the offensive zone before you score.
Yeah.
Right? You're up 9 or 10-0. Your team gets better. Right? Your defense. And guess what? One of them might get to score and they never score all year long. Great. But when you're in pro hockey, it's a different league, man.
Well, I was watching even the Lions Jags yesterday, and I don't know, man. I've watched a lot of football. I'm not sure I've seen an NFL offense against, like, they could do whatever they wanted yesterday, and they scored 52, and no one important played the fourth quarter, and they didn't throw the ball. Like, they could have legitimately put up 90 points if they wanted to.
Well, didn't he score a touchdown every time they had the ball?
They didn't punt.
Yeah. Like, I thought
they got the best punter in the game, and he just stood on the sidelines.
Yeah, did nothing. He was waiting. The over-under, I got a lot of people favoring the under right now. The question for Andrew was text in over-under 3.5 is the line for successful penalty kills for the. So the Oilers could take 6 penalties, still allow 2 goals, and you'd still win if you pick the over.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. The penalty kill could be percentage bad, but anyway, something to watch for. The advantage of picking the under here, and this is with any under bet ever, the advantage of picking the under is you've already won, right? Like the Oilers have to, their goal is to not take penalties, right? So things have to go a little sideways for them to be in the box 4 or more times. That's how you beat Montreal, is you stay out of the box. The benefit of taking the over is that the smallest slight kill, like I said, like maybe 5 seconds of a spillover 4-on-4 time, and it adds to your total. So,
yeah.
So we'll see.
Hey, guys, are you ready to say the Oilers have a goaltending problem? That one comes in from Doug.
I thought about this a lot this week. And the last time we did the show, Greg's, we talked about Stuart Skinner, and we were both kind of in the camp of, like, you're paying him $2.6 million, so relax. Like he's all right. Look what he did the last couple of years, etc. The resume is pretty impressive.
Yep.
There is something to be said. Well, multiple things can be true. Okay, so this is what I always say. Multiple things can be true. It's not always all or nothing. And it's all right to look at your goalie who has designs on winning a Stanley Cup and saying, if you're gonna be that guy, like, you got to make the odd big save.
Yeah.
And it does feel like he plays pretty well in these games until they really need him. And it's not even a stinker. It's not like some soft team deflating goal.
Right.
It's just like this hypothetical, what if you saved it, right? Like that Marner shot, and I heard you with Woodley. The Marner shot is posting in. Like, no one is faulting him for that. And at the same time, well, you make the save, you win the game, right? Like, that's, Grant Fuhr allowed, and maybe the legend is a little overblown, but Grant Fuhr allowed 5 a night, but boy, he'd make the big save, right?
Right.
And at the same time, these people that are like, go get yourself a number 1 goalie. How? Like, it's just not realistic.
Yeah.
Right? Like, who's out there, and who are you getting in your cap world that, Like if the cap goes up by $9 million, like there's okay, let's have a conversation about what the Oilers want to do with their goaltending. But they have serviceable goaltending right now with some upside at $2.6 million. But it doesn't mean I don't understand the frustration, right? Like I think the most important thing when you have a team is does the goalie has he lost the trust of the players where they play differently? And we like early last year with Campbell and Skinner, we saw that. I don't think we're there right now.
Yeah.
That's my impression.
Fair point.
You know, like I don't think like they're playing really good team defense right now. Like the blue line has not been the problem, but I don't think that's because they're afraid of, oh God, what happens if we allow a big chance to Skinner? That's my read on it.
Yeah.
Well, but he can be better. He'd be the first one to tell you that.
Yeah. Skinner, I think that the big picture here is Edmonton's in win now mode. So I understand it. And there's nervousness about it, but anybody says, "Oh, you can't win with Skinner." I'm like, you just went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final.
You just did win,
and his numbers in his last 15 playoff games were actually better than Bobrovsky's in his final 15 games. They had exact identical save percentage. Skinner actually had a lower goals against average. So look, Bobrovsky got lit up a few games in the Stanley Cup final. I know everyone's like, I didn't love the second goal of Game 7. All right, so your goalie had to be good enough to only allow one goal, otherwise you can't win with him. Like, to me, that's a pretty high bar. I would say this: Skinner's got to play better. There's no question. People need to be very hesitant. People are, he'll never be a starter. It's his start of his third season. What are you talking about? I can go through the list of guys who aren't starters and elite right away. Now, I'm not saying he'll ever be elite because it's hard to be elite. You can be a really good player and not be elite, but is he having some growing pains right now? Is there a little bit of battling of confidence? 100%, right? Does he look uncertain in some motions? For sure. So he's going to have to battle his way out of it. But I don't see a cavalry coming in right away. I don't see any other options. So they just got to work with Skinner and, just hopefully that he plays his way out of it. That's really their best option at this point.
Well, two things. Like, look at the guy that beat them in the Stanley Cup final. Like, look at that guy's career. He is walking into the Hall of Fame. And you remember at various points in his career, this guy was a joke.
No.
Like, he had the worst contract in the National Hockey League. No one's talked about Bobrovsky's contract for 3 years. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
No, non-issue, non-starter, right? He went from up-and-coming goalie to got the reins too early, couldn't stop a beach ball, run out of multiple places, wins a Vezina in Columbus, then Columbus doesn't want to keep, like, he was all over the place, right? Like goalies are weird, like, not reinventing the wheel by saying that.
No.
And then the other thing, okay, if we were going to entertain the idea of, okay, Oilers have decided they need a guy.
Yeah.
Like,
who are you getting?
Like, maybe John Gibson, but really, is he a guy that, like, he'll be great? You don't know that. And even then, like, that's a lot of cap finagling, right?
Oh,
like,
God, yeah.
Because
if you're trading Skinner away to get this guy, Skinner's only a 2.6 cap hit for this year and next year. Who are you getting that's so clearly
put it
better?
this way. They could trade Skinner if, like, there's a lot of teams that would be lining up for Stuart Skinner.
They would take the risk. They would take the risk on that all day to say, we think the upside on this guy, we can get a little bit. And worst case scenario, if not, he's only 2.6 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So I don't think they're there to goalie problem yet. I think they have to, he's got to be a little bit more consistent at the key times. I thought that was well said, Walks, that, he's got to be a little bit more consistent at the right time. Hey guys, Stoller's made big saves for Toronto at the end when his team needed a lift. Yeah, well, Edmonton did tie it though in the final few minutes. And now keep it. Anthony Stolarz. You know how old Anthony Stolarz is?
He's younger than you think.
But he's 30. And do you know how many NHL games he's played? 120. Like, this guy bounced around the minors for years, was a backup, and you know what? Now he's had a good run in Toronto, but he's never been a starter. And so now people are like, hey, you know what? He's playing pretty well. Great. But the goaltending position is very finicky. I think it would be a big mistake to give up on Stuart. Stuart Skinner's final 50 games last year when Knobloch took over, he had the most wins in the NHL. He had the 5th best save percentage. He had the 6th best goals against, and he had the 7th best saves above expected. So if you don't just think save percentage is one thing, so he's top 7 in all categories in only his second year in the league. And now you just want to throw him to the Wolves? I would be cautious to want to write off Stu
Well,
Skinner.
and they're not a team built on their goalie. Like, they're not, like, if they win the Stanley Cup, Stuart Skinner is not winning the Conn Smythe. It's just not how they're built. But he's part of the team. He's part of the collective. And you go back to the last playoff run. I mean, whatever. They wiped the floor with the Kings. You won't count that. But in round 2, a lot of great players. They do not win that series without Evan Bouchard, right? You go to the conference finals. You do not win that series without Stuart Skinner doing what he does, especially in Game 6. And then, Florida, they didn't end up winning, but like everybody kind of takes their turn to be great, right? You need different heroes at different times, and Stuart Skinner is not going to be the guy that puts this team on his back for 16 games. It's just not how they're built. But you don't need a great goalie to win a cup, but you do need great goaltending, if that makes sense.
Yeah, at that time, yeah.
So if people look at Skinner and it's like, hey, he's not in the Hellebuck, Shesterkin, Swayman, whatever category you want to put him in.
That's fair.
But it's just like, well, of course he's not.
Yeah.
Of course he's not.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's take a quick break. We'll get to Sports 1440 update. When we return, Landon Ferraro will join us. Jason Gregor, Andrew Walker here in the Cross Mitsubishi pregame show. Here's a comment. Sports 1440 update brought to you by Fountain Tire. And remind you that you get your winter tires on. If you haven't already, get them in. And if you don't know where to store your summers, they can do it for you. FountainTire.com.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Game day, the Oilers on the road out in Montreal, set to take on the Canadiens. Puck drop just after 5:30. We've got pregame coverage continuing immediately following this commercial break. Elsewhere around the NHL, got the Jackets and the Bruins. Flyers host the Avalanche. Ducks taking on the Stars. Utah hosting Ovi and the Caps. And the Red Wings are in San Jose. Week 11 in the NFL will wrap up tonight down in Texas with the Cowboys hosting the Texans. That's starting at 6:15. CeeDee Lamb questionable to play in this one. In the association, the Toronto Raptors back in action, looking to pick up win number 3 on the season as they host former Raptor Pascal Siakam and the Indiana Pacers. Tip off 5:30. You've also got the Pistons hosting the Bulls, the Sixers in Miami. Knicks take on the Wizards, Rockets in Milwaukee, Suns in the Magic, Hawks, Kings, and the Clippers up against the Golden State Warriors. Coming up next here on Sports 1440, more pregame coverage with Andrew Walker, Jason Gregor, and Landon Ferraro. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Touch base on the Weiss Johnson text line, 1-833-401-1440. Weiss Johnson specializes in Trane heat pumps, the reliable, cost-effective heating and cooling solution. Trane, it's hard to stop a train.
Customers rely on you to keep their refrigeration systems running smoothly. So when they have downtime, you have stress time. Time to call on Easy Chill Rentals. Easy Chill will help ensure your customers' trust during maintenance or emergency repair downtime, so they stay cool. Easy Chill provides mobile walk-in coolers and freezers to customers all over Western Canada. For sales and rentals, don't sweat it, just chill with Easy Chill Rentals. Visit easychillrentals.com today.
Imagine a family get-together where the smiles are as genuine as the conversations. That's the feeling you get at Nisku Ford, a family-owned dealership where finding a new Ford feels just like catching up with old friends. Swing by Nisku Ford today, and we'll show you how to take advantage of November rebates of up to $10,000 or access finance rates as low as 0%. The coffee's on, so drive into Nisku Ford or visit niskuford.ca today. Above expectations.
What keeps Alberta business moving? It's pallets, whether you're shipping, manufacturing, or looking for in-house storage solutions. Hi, it's Andrew with the Pallet Recycler here in Edmonton, and we've been providing reliable, affordable, recycled, and custom pallets for local businesses for the past 30 years. Contact the Pallet Recycler at 825-474-1981 to find out why recycled pallets are the most cost-effective way to move and store your product. Learn about our recycling program as well at thepalletrecycler.ca.
Cross Mitsubishi rolls into winter with the hottest financing available. 0% financing.
2024 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross starts at $26,898 plus tax. A 2024 RVR starts as low as $22,098 plus tax.
Mitsubishi Outlander rolls out as low as $35,498 and tax. 2025 PHEV Outlanders start at just $40,498 plus tax. Get into a Mitsubishi Mirage starting at $16,848 and tax.
Visit Cross Mitsubishi and drive your ambition. 9605 34th Avenue and crossmitsubishi.ca.
Scott McGilvery here, HGTV host and renovation expert. The one upgrade I know homeowners will love,
better, fresher Culligan water straight from the tap. Culligan's Aquasential reverse osmosis filtration system takes your water to the next level. With up to 7 stages of filtration and 14 filter options, they're certified to reduce over 90 contaminants. Your tap water is about to get a major upgrade. Safer water that tastes great. Get started with a free in-home water test at Culligan.com. Culligan, water you love.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Portions of this hour brought to you by your Alberta GMC dealers. The Canada-wide clearance is on now at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on a 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab Elevation. See more at gmcoffers.ca.
You're listening to Andrew Walker and the Cross Mitsubishi Pregame Show on Sports 1440.
Welcome back to the Sports 1440 Studios. Oilers and Montreal Canadiens, game number 2 on this road trip coming up in about 30 minutes from now. It is the Cross Mitsubishi Pregame Show as part of the Jason Gregor Show. Andrew Walker, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley. Let's get to our game day analyst, Landon Ferraro, joining us now. For Honda Canada, want an efficient power play? Meet Honda's 2025 Civic Accord and CRV hybrids. Visit prairiehonda.ca. I watched you on the Steven Stamkos breakout game last night. I was furiously scribbling notes to learn as much as I could about hockey. Nice work there on our television sets.
Oh, thank you. It's even better when it's only one intermission. You sit there, you're trying to focus through the whole game to talk for 5 minutes. It's a little different to get used to for sure.
So how many times did you get to play in Montreal, and how different is the vibe there compared to the rest of the league?
Honestly, it's one of the coolest places. Like that and MSG are there's just a different feeling literally walking into it. But going into there with playing for Boston, especially, there's just such a big rivalry there, and Boston hadn't won. I don't know the stat, but it'd been a couple of years since they'd won in Montreal. I want to say 4 or 5. And we went in and I ended up getting the winner there. And it's one of my, best memories of my time with Boston. It was the energy and feel in that building is incredible.
So we'll bring Greg's into the conversation here and we can go from there. But the matchups for Napa Auto Parts, for all your automotive needs, go to your trusted experts in high quality parts, tools, equipment, and more. That's Napa Know-How. We talked about it a little bit, but obviously no Darnell Nurse for the first full game for the Oilers tonight. So it kind of means, well, you got Ekholm Bouchard is your big pairing. And then all of a sudden, Brett Kulak, who he's playing the best hockey we've ever seen him play, but he has to carry your second pairing, and then you got, 2 other guys on your third pairing. So everyone has to kind of go up a level here. What do you think of the Oilers' defense crew in that matchup tonight?
It's going to be interesting. Like you said, they're going to need. They don't need one person to step up. They need the whole D-core to really kind of help lift each other up. That's when you start losing big pieces, and it's already a D-core that you're asking guys to be, kind of doing things they're not used to or really expected of. It needs to be a full group effort tonight, or it can dismantle pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, I look at the orders, and their good news is it's against Montreal. Montreal just isn't that good, right? They do have some guys. Caulfield can score for sure. He's a shooter. Nick Suzuki does have 18 points, although he had Mitch Gallow on, and he says that he doesn't he's got the points, but his play hasn't necessarily matched all the points he's getting. It's much easier. I think the Minnesota, the Ranger games are where we're really going to see the test of the depth of their blue line. So, maybe you can get a game where you feel a little bit better about yourself, Landon, and not that players necessarily think that way, but you got to know if you're going up against a weaker opponent sometimes, where guys can maybe naturally just feel less stressed going into Montreal than if they're facing Minnesota tonight, for instance.
Yeah, I would agree with it. I'd also say that it's also a situation where, like, you have to make sure those guys that are getting, more minutes and relied upon now don't get too excited with the opportunity in front of them, because that's what it is. Like, when an older veteran goes out and a big piece of your team, like, all those other players start licking their chops. Like, they obviously want Darnell back as quickly as possible, but like, that's opportunity for someone else. Like, it's easy to now try to do too much.
Right.
Like, it's about making sure that you have that conversation with them before of like, hey, like, there's more minutes here. Like, we just need you to play the same steady game. Don't try to now, be a player that's, you're not really, or you're not that caliber, or that's not your skill set. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's really keeping them reined in to make sure they have a good feeling going into the next harder ones.
Well, and how does that work for a guy like Josh Brown? He's going to make his Oilers debut tonight, and it's just he'll have to play some minutes. That's how it is. But here's a guy that kind of established himself as we'll say a semi NHL regular, and then he gets a multi-year deal from the Oilers, probably feeling pretty good about himself. Then he got outplayed in camp. Like, he looked slow, and they sent him down. So he's been down playing in the minors, and now here's his first chance to kind of show his worth as he gets called up to the big club. What's going through his mind tonight for this opportunity?
Well, I think, like, he's the type of player that this is like a perfect situation to come into. Like, he needs to play. He's going to have to play minutes, but he's not a 6 foot, 185-pound skill defenseman, right? Like, he's more, he's a big guy. He's a bit more physical. Like, it's easier, I feel, for him to step in and just be hard to play against. As long as he's hard to play against, he's doing his job tonight. And when it's something, I just equate it to, my own experience where, like, I get called up and they're like, we just need you to be good on the penalty kill tonight. It almost puts you at ease because you have one singular focus. It's not come in and try and be the savior. Like, we need you to do this one facet of the game. And that's something that, for him, it can kind of, not slow the game down, but it can make it just a little more simple for him, that he doesn't feel like he has to be making plays all of a sudden. Just be steady and be hard to play against. And that'll be a good starting point.
Landon Ferraro joins us. The Oilers penalty kill has started to show a pulse here. It was huge in that Toronto game, especially that 5-on-3 when you had Ekholm in the box and Nurse was out of the game. Those are your two top penalty killers, and they get through it. And confidence can play a thing. Did you notice anything in the last few games? I think their penalty kill is a little bit more unified than it was before. Because I think they've always tried to attack, but the problem was when one guy was attacking, the other guy was hesitating, and then that it opened up the lanes. They seem to be a little bit more unified the last few games.
Yeah, as soon as you started that question, the word that popped into my head was connected, which is exactly unified, connected. It's all the same thing, but it's so important on a penalty kill for exactly the example you just said. Like, when it's, there's a saying on the penalty kill, one go, all go. So if there's a rim, as soon as that puck gets on the yellow dasher rolling around the boards, like, that's a trigger. As soon as there's a bobbled puck, that's a trigger. So, the closest guy, he's going to go all out for it. But that's completely useless if the two other players next aren't sealing the lower and higher option. Like, you have to work together, because if not, then that first guy goes running out there and all of a sudden he's on an island, and the players are too good. They'll pick that apart very quickly. But when it's, rush out to that guy who moves it up to the point, well, there's already someone running out to there. Like, now people are forced to make decisions quick. And not only does that make it tough, but then sometimes when it gets moving around that fast, because they know the pressure's coming, even when someone's a little late getting there, on the power play side, you already have your mind made up that you have to make it quick. Like, that's when you can start really kind of dismantling penalty or power plays and making guys get frustrated.
Well, there's this misconception, right? That okay, the power play is it's about cohesiveness and teamwork and a lot of skill, and the penalty kill is just about hard work and blocking shots. Now there's an element there, but it takes it takes, like you said, cohesion and routine and chemistry, even on the penalty kill. Like, you can have chemistry without touching the hockey puck.
And I think the one thing you miss, because I fully agree, like it takes all those things, but it takes dedication. Like you have to be so dedicated to kill the penalty. Like you can't be thinking about what's coming next. You can't think about, oh, maybe if I cheat a little here, they might try and throw a seam pass. I can pick it off and I go on a breakaway. Like you need to be so dedicated to your job and helping, being one of four on the ice to really work around and pressure. And when you do that, like you'll get opportunities out of that because you're forcing quick plays. And what happens when you're forcing guys, it doesn't matter if they're the best in the world, but if you're continually making them make instant passes, like it's going to bobble eventually. It's going to hop over a stick because it doesn't move as clean. Like things like that, like it's very important. But yeah, I would say it's almost more important on a penalty kill than a power play because, skill can take over on a power play from time to time. That doesn't happen on a PK. You need to work as a group.
Well, and Greg's, we saw it last year. If anyone needed a reminder, like how important the penalty kill was, it was almost like you didn't want the Oilers to take penalties because it would give them momentum and they would outscore the opposition.
True story. Late in the playoffs, the players in between dressing rooms once, there's a few times where hey guys, someone's got to take a penalty. Like, I'm not even making that up. They were so confident because they fed off of it. And when you go through a whole playoffs and you're -1 on the penalty kill, they only allowed 4 goals and they scored 3 shorties. Like,
yeah, it was
unbelievable
run.
And it was just like, we're not in the game. All right, someone take a penalty. Like, think about how crazy that is, Landon. They just, hey, someone take a penalty, right? Like, rarely you don't hear, but when guys are confident, that's how confident you are. Like, we'll take a penalty because now we'll kill it and that'll get everybody fired up.
100%. And the craziest part, like if you're just listed off those stats to me about last year's playoffs and I didn't watch them, I would assume they were out in the first round if it was that close, because there's no way you go to the Cup final and you're only -1 differential. Like that's insane.
Yeah.
But again, like that just shows when you have a team that's quick and fast on defense on the penalty kill and they're connected, like as a power play guy, like you just feel like you have no air. Like every time you go to make a play, you're like, oh, it's starting to open up. And then out of nowhere, another stick gets in the lane. Like it is beyond frustrating.
Well, and I'm intrigued to hear what you think of the kid on the other side, Lane Hutson. Now he's not running power play 1, but he will soon enough. It's an interesting case study because he's fabulous to watch and he's on the highlight reels and all that, but he plays for a team that's incredibly loose and he's a -9. Like it shows how good the NHL is, where this guy has all the skill in the world. He's gonna, man, if you need to get a guy for your hockey pool in the coming years, like he's gonna fall into points, right? He has 11 assists in 18 games. Like that, like he's gonna be a 50-60 point D-man, but there is so much work to do in the defensive end, right? Like he's a liability, and he's 2/3 point per game right now as a rookie. It's crazy how you can be the most skilled player in the world, and there's a lot of room to grow still.
Yeah, and it's like you do forget that it's the NHL and it's the best league in the world. Like we all know that, but like it is very hard to learn on the job at that level.
Yes,
right. Like it's. There's always the saying of, the NHL is not a development league, but sometimes it kind of is. And it's hard for those players. But when you see those flashes of brilliance of him, like when he takes off from his end and those legs just start churning up the ice and you can see him while he's making the move around the first guy, like his eyes are almost looking at the next player.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'm not worried about this move. Like I'm worried about how I'm going to get past the next guy. And like, it's incredible to watch, but that's where it is hard. You're coming from university and, guys will run out of place or out of position a little easier. You can get them to bite a bit quicker and, it is what it is and you feel good. But when you turn it over there, you're going to have another chance to make up for it. Like you don't always get that opportunity in the NHL. Like if, he had that one, massive one probably about a month ago, the turnover. And, that's a mistake that's generally made in the American League as the younger players starting to figure it out. But with where they're situated and their rebuild and everything, like he's there now. So the difference is like everyone sees that mistake. If
Right.
it's down in the minors, no one talks about it because it's not on TV
Yeah.
and it's not in one of the biggest markets in the league. So it's a tough situation for him, but man, like he's got such a bright future and he's so fun to watch. Like it's just another player that as soon as he gets on his tape in the defensive zone and he's moving, like you're glued to the screen.
Yeah, no, it's true. He is a very dynamic player. There's no doubt about it. I have a question for you though, Landon, as a forward, and we've seen here kind of the evolution. Now, there's always exceptions. Gustav Forsling, not overly big. Cale Makar, obviously, is elite. But when you look at the way the game is in the playoffs, and it's so different than the regular season, you can have small guys like that who can succeed in the regular season, but a lot of them are struggling in the playoffs. Do you even consider drafting, even though maybe you draft because you know he's the best and then you can trade him because he has value. But I'm just wondering, what we'll see about guys like when you're like Lane Hudson's maybe 160 pounds, guys. Like I just wonder because you've played it, you've seen it, that like it's even hard to put a percentage of how different the playoffs are to the regular season. And I wonder if it's hard to build your team because you build around the skill guy and it really helps you. It's a huge part. And then you get to the playoffs and he just can't be a big of a part.
Do you build your team? Like, do you build your team for the playoffs or do you build your team to get there? And then you see what happens. It's really tough, right?
Great question.
It is really tough. And I think for right now, it depends on your organization, obviously. Like I think you try and build as close as a team that you definitely, you want playoff time. But you need those smaller water bug guys that can play a ton of minutes through 82 games and kind of help carry some of that load because, like you said, like it is the bigger guys that are generally more effective come playoff time because you're playing so often. The games are so intense. Like, as another smaller body person, like when I was done that 7-game series against Tampa when I was playing with Detroit, like I felt like my shoulders were going to just fall off. Like it just is what it is because every single battle you get in feels like life or death. Like, like this could be the difference in the series if I bobble this puck on the wall here. And so you take the extra hits or you throw that extra hit. Like there's so much going on, and we saw it with Quinn Hughes here last year. He wins, he's the best defenseman in the league. And then it gets to playoff time and, he had assists, but he wasn't the same player. And I fully expect he's going to be a guy that figures that out come playoff time this year, but it's exactly what you're saying. Like, it's not easy. It doesn't matter how good you are. Like, you're getting hit. Even the skill players are finishing their checks on the forecheck come playoff time. Like, there's no break for your body. And it is an interesting thing, like, where, it is a tough question. Like, do you draft the highest skill guy, even though he's smaller, or do you take the guy that might be a little better in the playoffs, but his hands are a little, not quite the same? Like, it is a tough decision. It's just kind of depends what you have in your pipeline already. But, you're always going to want the bigger guy. It is sport.
Well,
right?
Hughes is unbelievable. Hughes is unbelievable, and he's a Norris winner. Chris Pronger is unbelievable, a Norris winner. I mean, I'm taking Pronger. He's the perfect defenseman. But those guys are as hard to find as the Quinn Hughes, right? So,
yeah, exactly. And I think that's, again, like, I think the biggest thing is, like, you need to have, some of those smaller skilled guys that definitely carry most of the weight through the regular season, because it is hard to expect, a 6'4" guy with a ton of weight on him to be able to carry a ton of minutes all through the season, then still do it in the playoffs. Like, it's a lot on their bodies, especially as they get older.
Landon, great stuff, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Or, because you're on tomorrow and you're not, Walks?
That's right, yeah.
Tomorrow. Ottawa Senators. So
there we go.
Going up on the Sens.
All right, guys. Well, have a good one.
All right, thanks, Landon. Landon is brought to you as always by Honda Canada, Greg's.
That's the one element, Andrew, where Evan Bouchard, I know, can be frustrating at times for people, but Evan Bouchard's 6'3".
Yeah, he's not a small guy.
And the last two playoffs, I've had no issue with Evan Bouchard in the postseason whatsoever. Obviously, last year was elite amongst elite, but you look at his last 2 years, he's shown me he's more aggressive in the postseason than he is in the regular season.
And just a thought on Quinn Hughes. I don't think like he faded in the playoffs, but I don't think he faded because, like he's small, but like they played the piss out of him, right? He was playing, they didn't have anybody else. He was playing 33 minutes. Like in that game 7, when they were trailing the Oilers, he would change like multiple times in a shift. So when they had the puck, he'd be on the ice because you just couldn't, otherwise he wouldn't come off, right? And as that series wore on, it's not that Quinn Hughes got, worn down because he's little. He got worn down because no human can play that much, right? At least Bouchard had Ekholm and Nurse and, and Hughes had Hronek was just about it.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah.
Jason Gregor, Andrew Walker with you on Sports 1440 in the Cross Mitsubishi pregame show. We'll come back, set up the lineups and more tonight for the Oilers and the Habs.
The pregame show is brought to you by Cross Mitsubishi. Visit Cross Mitsubishi today and drive your ambition. 9605 34th Ave and crossmitsubishi.ca.
Looking for a smart alternative to heating and cooling your home? Hi, Dennis from Weiss Johnson, your cold climate heat pump specialist. We'll explain how Trane heat pumps offer a reliable, cost-effective heating and cooling solution. Order your Trane heat pump now and take advantage of the Canada Greener Homes Loan Initiative. Trane, it's hard to stop a Trane. From the most experienced HVAC company around, family owned and operated for nearly 50 years. Visit WJHeats.com today.
Hi, folks. This is Big Al from Discount Diesel Parts. We carry a full line of heavy-duty diesel parts to cover all your engine needs. Heads, in-frame kits, fuel injectors, turbos, oil and water pumps, gasket kits, and so much more. Whether it's for highway trucks, heavy equipment, or farm machinery, we have it at a great price. You can reach us at 780-463-3111 or at discountdiesel.ca. And know that Discount Diesel's got the parts to get it done.
As an Albertan, you expect the challenge of icy roads. But what you may not expect is Cross Mitsubishi helping you gear up for winter with winter tires. And now, for a very limited time, you'll receive a set of winter tires for free with your purchase. Don't wait. This offer won't last long. All from the home of the 10-10-10 warranty and Western Canada's largest 2024 Mitsubishi inventory, Cross Mitsubishi. Get your free winter tires now and drive your ambition. 9605 34th Avenue and at crossmitsubishi.ca.
Get early access to real Black Friday prices now at the Brick. Save up to 65% off select sofas when you buy the matching love seater chair. Up to 25% off bedroom and dining furniture. Plus, save up to $700 off a big screen TV. And get free shipping on TVs over 50 inches. Find 40% off mattresses and next day delivery on in-stock beds. Plus, save 3 times the tax when you buy 2 or more Samsung major kitchen appliances. Find a lower price before the end of the year, and the Brick will refund the difference. Some exclusions apply. See in store for details.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free Radio Player app and listen wherever you go.
Portions of this hour brought to you by On the Rocks. Watch every Oilers game at OTR with $5.25 Molson Canadian, $5 Pink Whitney shots, and 60-cent wings. Plus, play Oilers score and win. Walk away with a ton of On the Rocks gift cards. Oilers hockey at OTR. Book your table today. Jasper Ave and 118.
It's the Cross Mitsubishi pregame show with Andrew Walker on Edmonton's only 24/7 sports station. This is Sports 1440.
Welcome back. The Cross Mitsubishi pregame show here on Sports 1440 is part of the Jason Gregor Show. Andrew Walker, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley. Visit Cross Mitsubishi today and drive your ambition. 9605 34th Ave and crossmitsubishi.ca. In case you missed it, we did give you your chance to win on the text line, 1-833-401-1440. $100 to the River Cree Resort and Casino could be yours. Super easy. Text us over or under, and the proposition we gave you related to the Oilers penalty kill. So over or under, we set the number at 3.5 successful penalty kills. So if the PK goes 4 for 5 or 4 for 4, you're a winner. So there it is, 3.5. Don't know how the game is going to go. Historically, though, as I pointed out earlier, these teams do score a lot of goals against each other. Now, the Oilers have played actually pretty tight this year, and the Habs are still loose. But when these two teams get together, you've seen more often than not, 5-2, 4-3 in overtime, stuff like that. So use that info at your discretion and give us a text. 1-833-401-1440, over or under. Okay, quick look at the lineups for Nisku Ford here on the pregame show. And for the Edmonton Oilers, of course, no Darnell Nurse. So that means the only real lineup changes tonight, Greg's, is the defense looks a little different. Obviously, Kulak Emberson is the second pairing, and then Dermott, Josh Brown, and you will see Calvin Pickard in between the pipes. In terms of up front, Nuge, McDavid, Hyman, Podkolzin, Draisaitl, Perry, Janmark, Henrique, Brown, Skinner, Ryan, Stetcher. While Stetcher is that placeholder. He was in the morning skate anyway. So we're going to see when you do not score or you haven't scored. I know the Oilers offense has picked up lately. Maybe some of the finishing from some of the big guns still isn't there. You're probably going to see a little blender. That's just how it works, especially on the road. You see Perry on that second line. You'll probably see, and I heard you ask Spec about it, Jeff Skinner. Is he going to get some looks in the top six here at some point? Because they could use him to get going too.
Well, they need somebody in the top six wingers. And the funny thing is, if you look at Hyman, Arvidsson, Podkolzin, and Jeff Skinner has the most goals 5-on-5, and he's played the fewest minutes by far with the top guys.
Is it as easy to say, like, is it simply like, oh, Knobloch doesn't like Skinner?
Well, I think that he doesn't like the giveaways that he's had, right? Like Skinner's, when him and McDavid have played in their limited minutes, they've been on the ice for 6 goals again. So it's not great. So I get it. But you know what? Now there's some other circumstances involved in there. Yeah, I would look at it and just at some point, the coach is going to have to say, okay, I didn't like those giveaways back in 3 weeks ago, but I've got guys here who continually play big minutes in the top 6 and are producing nothing. Okay, sure. So they're not giving the puck away, but they're not producing. Now, Skinner wasn't lighting it up, like scoring 2 goals every game, but he still scored way more. His goals per 60 is the best of them. His points per 60 is the best of them. And he's played the fewest minutes with those guys. So at least at some point, to me, it's something that has to be considered.
He's going to need another chance.
Yes.
But a guy like Skinner, here's kind of how I read it too. It's funny. You look at, this guy gives the puck away too much. And you look at the NHL leaders in giveaways every year. It's always the best players, right? Sure. It's McDavid, it's Kucherov, blah, blah, blah. So, but Jeff Skinner, I'm not saying ego or anything like that, but Jeff Skinner he needs to take some time, and he is, to realize that like his name shouldn't be among the league leaders in giveaways. He maybe was that at one point.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, man, be creative, turn it over. You're playing first line in Carolina, first line in Buffalo. You're making $8.5 million, whatever. You got to earn it. He's not that guy anymore. No one's talking about his contract. No one's talking about his salary. He can't be, well, I'll sacrifice turnovers for a chance to create offense and score my 40. You're just not that guy anymore.
No, and I do wonder, I think sometimes you come from a bad team where maybe the bar was lower in what you're allowed to get away with because there's no one else.
I think that's fair.
And so there's it's
been 10 years of that for him.
Yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve where all of a sudden they're like, hey, buddy, here, like whatever you got away with in Buffalo doesn't get away with here. And so you got to adapt to that. And now the coach maybe got to have a conversation and understand as the coach and be a little bit more patient. And now the Oilers are 3-0-1. So it's, hey, the move hasn't hurt them by him being on the fourth line. So the results is there. But at the same time, they're 3-0-1 because McDavid has awoken and him and Draisaitl are killing it. And Matthias freaking Janmark is doing it, right? Like Janmark's the third highest scoring forward 5-on-5 in this team. Good for him. But you're going to need some other guys, specifically your top 6 wingers going.
When's the last time in his life, not just his NHL career, but Jeff Skinner was able to say, I played a really good hockey game tonight. I helped the team, but that doesn't, mean I scored. But he's never been able to say that, right?
Yeah,
his job has always been
Mm-hmm.
carrying the offense on teams that were fighting for 8th and 9th, like always.
And the thing was, but they signed him for offense.
Yes.
So, and anybody who signed him had to, like Jeff Skinner not being great defensively. It's not like, what? I've never heard of that. I can't believe. I always thought Jeff Skinner was a Selke winner. No, everybody knew what the strength of his game was and what the weakness of his game is. And so to me, any coach at any level, you have to put players in a position where they can succeed. That's just the truth. That's just how it is. And so, at some point you wonder and say, you know what? How much longer can you play him on the fourth line where it's beneficial to him at all?
Yeah. I mean, the legend of Jeff Skinner just kind of depreciates at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you're not getting much more out of him, and he isn't going to be able to give you much more either. If in limited minutes with guys like, and then the other thing is I look and say Derek Ryan, Jeff Skinner on the fourth, like you got two small guys who get pushed off the puck all the time. It's not a great fix either.
Well, and I look at I think we've all liked Podkolzin's game. He's actually been kind of better than I anticipated.
Yep.
But something has to give here. I really like the way he plays, but he's not going to score. Like he's just never going to score. If he gives you 7-8 goals in your bottom 6 one year, it'd be amazing. Right. But he's not a finisher, and he's played pretty well collectively with Draisaitl, but he has no points, no goals. Right. There comes a time when you play on that line, it has to be about numbers.
Yeah.
Hockey's not always about numbers. Sometimes it is a little bit. One more thing to get to here, and then all our sponsors are taking care of it, is the injury report for Titan Supply, your best source for lifting, digging, and hauling equipment. Lift, dig, haul, titansupply.ca. Injury report for the Oilers, Vander Kane, no Arvidsson again tonight. He's getting closer, though. Maybe he plays tomorrow. And no Darnell Nurse. They're saying 5 to 10 days. On the other side, still no Patrick Laine, if you forgot. He plays for Montreal. And Raphael Harvey-Pinard is the other regular that's out. So there you go.
Hey, out-of-town scoreboard, Mr. Olivier.
For the pallet recycling, yes.
Mr. Olivier got a goal and a fight already in the first 10 minutes. He's assist
got
away from. He's got 6 goals, dude, in 18 games.
It's amazing. Good for him.
Oh, it's been an unreal season for him.
Unbelievable. Remember when George, he had over 10 here. He had a hat trick one year.
Yeah.
When your fighter's scoring, I know it doesn't happen very often anymore, but when your fighter is scoring goals, there's nothing better as a hockey fan, as an old school hockey fan.
Well, your team loves it. Like the year George had a hat, I think that's the year he scored. I think he scored 13.
Well, I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, I think one of my favorite lines as a young Oilers fan was Larac, Jimmy Dowd, and Boyd Devereaux.
Yeah.
And they all, one year, they all had hat tricks at different parts of the season, which I thought as a kid was just the coolest stat.
Really?
Yeah, I swear it was a thing. That whole line.
Wow, I have to look up.
You know what sucks? I knew it too. I took the Bruins in Survivor. I knew it.
Oh,
I knew it.
Buddy, the Bruins are
I know.
struggling. Wow, you took them in a Survivor. Wow. Over the Stars. I guess. Did you already take the Stars?
I already took the Stars. Yeah,
okay.
I already took the Stars. Yeah, I debate. I like to, because you got to pick one game a week, and I want it to go early in the week because you have more information. Blue Jackets aren't very good on the road. Blah blah blah. Swingman's in net.
One.
Yeah, so no good. No
good.
bueno.
All right, you guys are on the post game show tonight.
Yeah, immediately following this one. So 5:30 start. Third period should wrap up at about 8 p.m.
8 p.m. And the Duke tonight.
That's right.
Ooh,
yeah. So we'll be here till 9:30 or so. So
all right,
we'll take your texts, we'll take your calls, and flip it over right to here when the game's done.
We'll be tuning in. We'll come back. We got more. We're gonna. If you miss Kevin Woodley and you want to hear his breakdown of some of the goals that Stuart Skinner's allowed, that is coming up next here on Sports 1440.
We all live in Canada, right? And we all know it gets cold, right? And every second that ticks by, it gets colder and colder. Well, GS Construction is prepared for that.
I'm like
GS Construction is the
the
proof that makes
reflection on
sure
your
all
eyes,
those
you kinda
underground
look like you're
pipes that
psychotic
lead
in
to and
purple,
away
so
from
it's
your
kinda-
home
Yeah,
stay
I don't know
flowing.
what- I don't know what that is. It's like-
So GS Construction has been hard at work this winter
There you go. Yeah.
preparing underground systems to run smoothly. To find
a
out
few
more,
things. I
visit
want to talk about the
gsconstruction.ca.
A premier hockey solution with a clear path for long-term development.
Hey, we appreciate it, my man.
To be entering its 8th season of independent borderless hockey, featuring provincial and cross-province competition with showcase-style regular season gameplay and a strong commitment to individual.
A few things. I want to talk about the Oilers Toronto
option
game
for those seeking family life balance. The Hockey Super League offers opportunities for both male and female athletes born between 2012 and 2017. Visit hockeysuperleague.com for more information.
At Papa John's, better is our specialty. Try our butter chicken pizza, the meats, the works, garden fresh, and more. Each special in its own way, just like you. With that ooey, gooey, crispy, crunchy taste, fresh, never frozen dough, and quality topping. Special has never tasted better. And so, for a limited time, get any large specialty pizza for just $17.99 with promo code LG1799 at papajohns.ca. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get you some Papa John's.
Legacy Heating and Cooling jingle auditions, take one for Gene Principe. Are you ready, Gene?
Ready? I'm not just here to make a thermo couple of bucks. I'd never just microphone it in.
Take one.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Nice.
Boom! I'm a musical genius.
Legacy's going to love this for furnace season.
What's not to love? With no interest and no Principe payments for 1 year.
Are you always like this?
Yep, unlike a furnace, I have no filter.
Legacy Heating and Cooling.
The Canada-wide clearance is on at GMC. Get a $7,500 cash credit on 2024 Sierra 1500 Crew Cab elevation models. With Sierra's 13.4-inch diagonal premium GMC infotainment system with Google built-in compatibility. Available off-road package with hill descent control, plus an available 3-liter Duramax diesel engine. You can take the road less traveled and try new things, like fishing or whitewater rafting. I should have gone fishing. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
When it comes to your health, trust Dr. Bryce Henderson for expert care in hip and knee replacements. With years of experience and advanced techniques, Dr. Henderson helps you regain your mobility and quality of life.
Your health is my priority. Let's get you back to doing what you love.
Put your health in the hands of a trusted expert. Book your consultation with Dr. Henderson today. Visit vitalsurgicalspecialist.ca or call 587-391-7864.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Can Torque. We offer sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Order today at cantorque.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Alberta's
Order
regulated
fans,
online gambling
the third and fourth goals on Skinner. So the third goal, it's coming off of that Welcome rush back to the right Jason up Gregor the Show, ice. Sports And, 1440 they go around organization, Skinner. YouTube and Looked like he was Facebook. coming How out to you doing? challenge aggressively. They deke him. Of course, I don't orders know in enough Montreal, about base you take on breakaways. 10 minutes make time of the they take on two the, plays. Is that Canadiens? right? Calvin Pickard will get the start in goal. You have Josh Brown making his debut as an order. Darnell Nurse is out tonight and tomorrow at least, probably out Thursday, and then we'll see if he's ready to go on Saturday. It is the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get in the game. Of course, the Orders, pretty big favorite tonight in Montreal. So Habs underdog at like plus 310. Whew. So if you want the underdog, good luck at PlayAlberta.ca. We had loads of text all show at 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. And many of them, wondering, hey, guys, I understand the frustration on Skinner. Trading him, I think, would be one where, what are you going to get? The Oilers have no cap space. How do they trade him? How do you get a starting goaltender in? And who would you get from Doug? Well, Doug, it's a great question on who you would get. So you look at teams that are out of it. San Jose, are they trading you Mackenzie Black? They might trade you Mackenzie Blackwood for Stuart Skinner, but are we sold certain 100% that that's an upgrade? For sure, are you? When Blackwood has a much longer history of injury problems, would you make that play? Skinner's never been hurt. And I'm a big believer in that. I think best ability is the dependability and availability. So I think it'd be a little bit rushing the gun to want to trade Stuart Skinner. I find it also interesting. People are like, no, the media runs people out of town. Where it's the fans are all calling for Stuart Skinner's head. People have been calling the same thing for Nurse for years. It might be not the media that you claim. Just saying. I would be very hesitant to want to give up on Stuart Skinner right away. Now, that being said, he needs to play better. I will agree with that wholeheartedly. I'll agree with it. So let's get to what our goalie expert in Kevin Woodley as we go in the room, brought to you by Action Electrical. Take action on your savings right now at actionelectrical.ca. net, whether you need commercial or residential solar, they can help you out. Action Electrical, the professionals since 1973. And Kevin Woodley did join us earlier on the show. And Cons, what do we start talking about again?
Just the goals against the Maple Leafs.
So he asked him to describe the third and fourth goal. So the third one where Bouchard and Ekholm, they let McMahon get in on the breakaway, and then of course the Marner overtime goal.
Tell me if we've heard this before, but rush reads have been a bit of an issue, right?
Yeah.
And in both cases, these are rush reads. And I honestly, this is why we started pro reads in Ingle, so that we could take plays like this and talk to goalies about what they're thinking, what they're reading, what they're anticipating, and why they make the decisions they do. And so I'd love to defer to him and ask him what those were. My hunch, my Monday morning quarterback from the couch, especially on the third one, is it looked like a guy caught off guard to me, Jason.
Okay.
Like in terms of expecting that to become a breakaway and getting caught in no man's land. Now, normally on a breakaway, and we're going to talk a little bit about rush decisions and depth decisions overall in a minute, because I'm seeing goalies a lot smaller than him defer to playing deeper and not have a lot of backwards flow on, say, a two-on-one rush like the overtime winner. But on a breakaway, most guys, almost all guys, to varying degrees, you want to get out, take ice, and match your retreat with the speed of the attack. And ideally, perfect world situation, you have got heels at the top of the crease, maybe just inside the crease, as that attacking player gets around the hash marks, what some goalie coaches will call the decision-making zone. And if you can have that depth at that point of the attack with a little bit of backwards flow, ideally what you want to force, you've got enough ice there, especially at Skinner's size, to force the guy that he doesn't see a ton of net and he wants a deke. Because a deke goes one of two ways, left or right. A shot can go high glove, low glove, between the legs, by the ear, blocker side, shot can go anywhere. You're purely reactive. But if you can hold edges long enough and force a guy to go left or right, as skilled as they are and as much as they can get you going both ways, it really is, with enough patience, a left or right decision. And that's what a lot of goalies try to force. When I look at that play, I don't see any of it. It looks like a controller was broken situation. And to me, that's just, hey, I didn't anticipate. My guess would be I didn't anticipate that becoming a breakaway. And it was kind of a play through the neutral zone with the defenders. And yeah, he didn't handle it right. He didn't have enough flow to get back to his post with a push, and he just got caught kind of flat-footed.
And then the Marner one?
Yeah, and this, again, I'd love to ask him, because you're right, he's a little deep. That's a hell of a shot, right? The goal scorer is just over the pad on the blocker side, just inside the post, goes in on a lot of guys. What makes it look more awkward to me, to be honest, Jason, isn't the depth necessarily so much as the way he executes. He drops the right knee so that he's loading the left edge, which isn't a bad play. It's almost like what we would call a VH, old school deadline. This is how they used to do it on dead angles. Goalies would sort of load that post leg up against the post as a push and drop the inside leg to have low coverage. Carey Price used to do this off the rush all the time. We've got pro reads with him where, in some ways, you're sort of taking away short side high by having that leg up and the glove above it, and you're loaded for a push across. It looked to me like he was loading into that play as the Marner's shooting, and he basically takes that right skate, right knee, and drops it in and out of the position where he would have been covering or had a better chance to cover far side net. So that, again, looks to me like a rush read, and maybe a little early with that execution, as opposed to waiting, and easy for me to say from my couch, but waiting until that play is deeper in the zone to load up that push leg in that sort of old school VH save technique. I don't hate the idea. It just looked like it was a little early, and that gave Marner a little more space. At the end of the day, such a perfect shot. Maybe it doesn't matter, but a little more space than he would have had if he waits a little longer on it.
Okay. Right now around the league, Kev, there's some, goaltending and, and numbers. Some guys get on hot streaks, and then some guys get struggling. It happens all the time. You're seeing it right now in Vancouver, for instance, right? She losses at 850. Lankinen had a great start, but then 3 of his last 4 have not been good enough by the standards that they want. So I guess, do you have an update on Demko? Do you think he's going to see action before the end of the month?
Don't know for sure. There seems to still be a lot of mystery. I've watched a couple of practices, and he is doing everything with the exception of one. There's one part of his game that I haven't seen yet, and that doesn't mean it's not happening. Like I said, they've done a good job of a lot of the goalie practice sort of not keeping him out there. And I missed one on Friday where Lankinen took a day off and Demko was the goalie throughout. The only thing I haven't really seen is what we call a reverse track or a double seal, where and there's a lot of goalies in the league that can't even do this, but you put basically one skate on each post and your pads are along the ice and you take away the entire bottom of the net. You can go from side to side and look over each shoulder when it plays behind the net. Demko was as efficient as anyone in it. I believe that's actually how the original of the two knee injuries that took him out for the final month of the season occurred. And I do wonder, is it because he's not ready to get into it? And is that the final piece they're waiting on before he gets back? Or they're just taking that out of his game because of all the stress it puts on the lower body that's had a lot of injuries. I'm kind of curious to see that myself. My hunch, obviously we're at the end of a 6-game homestand here tomorrow against the Rangers. My hunch is you see him return on the road, which takes a lot of focus and eyes off him depending on how they handle it. I think it'll be on this upcoming 6-game trip through early December.
Okay. Kevin Woodley from Ingo Magazine and NHL.com. I want to get your thoughts on a guy who all the numbers would suggest might be the best backup goalie in the NHL right now, and Jonathan Quick.
You know what? There's a combination of things going on here. One, whether it's the starts they choose or the way that team is defending for him, and Jonathan Quick is a very popular teammate, he has one of the highest expected save percentages in the NHL. Okay. That said, he is outperforming it by a league best margin. Like, his numbers are better than anyone adjusted save percentage in the entire NHL. Now, you could say that makes him the best goalie in the NHL right now, but obviously it's harder. All it takes is one stinker, and that comes down. He hasn't had one of those yet, and it's a small sample size. But for guys that have played as little as he has, no one's been better than Jonathan Quick. And talking to people around it that know his game, I think you've got a combination of two factors here. You've got a goaltender who has always had that explosive ability, but he's playing a more contained style, sort of a Benoit Allaire system. We're seeing a little bit of that Dustin Wolf, an undersized goaltender who, again, the stereotype is, you're undersized, you got to be aggressive. Jonathan Quick's never been that big. And early in his career, he was hyper-aggressive. Not anymore. Everything is contained. I think when you combine that tactical evolution for a goaltender with as much skill, and then make sure that you give him enough rest in between starts as he ages, you're just seeing a perfect mix right now. And like I said, whether it's the starts they're choosing or these guys really going to war anytime he's between the pipes because he's so popular, that's what leaves you with league best results. I mean, add that to Shesterkin, whose expected save percentage is like 30 points lower in his starts compared to Jonathan Quick. So like in the 880s versus like the 9-teens. You add those two together and arguably the best tandem in the NHL right now. Not arguably, statistically too.
With the Four Nations Cup coming up, where do you see, Skinner and with the type of season that he's having? Did you see him in there? Do you see him getting an opportunity, or are there other guys that you see that have kind of taken a spot as of now?
I think he was full value to be in the conversation based on the way things ended last year. Not just getting to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, but once they tidied up the rush stuff in Edmonton from basically the coaching change on, his numbers were really, really good. And we've talked before, we just talked about rush decisions. It seems to be the one thing that still has questions. That said, you combine his start with what I believe are two guys that they are somewhat locked in on in Canada. Like, I think it's going to be, and there's still time, and neither of these guys has had a terrific start. But I am of the belief, and there's a little bit of sourcing on this, I am of the belief this is going to be a Jordan Binnington, Aiden Hill 1-2 punch, and the question is, who gets in as the third? And I don't think, at this point, because of the struggles this season for Stuart Skinner, but also, I think you can make a really fair argument that there are enough similarities style-wise, not so much how they play, but their strength and weaknesses in terms of the types of attacks they are good and not as good against, that you wouldn't take Aiden Hill and Stuart Skinner together anyways. It would be one or the other, because there are things that both of them are good at and both of them aren't as good at, and they happen that there's a lot of overlap there. player. So why would you want two of the same if you're looking for a variety of options, especially with Skinner not having the start like he had the finish last year? And so that creates a lot of questions to me about the number 3, because both Binnington and Aiden Hill are below expected right now. Binnington's been
not good.
Well, he's been great since he won the cup. And a lot of that, they were not a great defensive team after they won the cup, and he held them in. It hasn't really been the case this year. So if they stick with that, as I expect, who becomes the 3? Like Cam Talbot, you talk about Jonathan Quick and the numbers. Cam Talbot right now is having an exceptional start with the Detroit Red Wings. Best numbers of any starter that's seen 300 shots so far this year, like best adjusted statistics. He warrants consideration. Logan Thompson, all he does is win for the Washington Capitals, another one last night, and yet you have one current and one former Vegas Golden Knight coach in Pete DeBoer and Bruce Cassidy, who were there when that organization wasn't necessarily enamored with everything they saw out of Logan, which led to him being moved this summer. So does that limit his chances? There are guys playing better. Even Mackenzie Blackwood behind a bad San Jose team has had some really good. So there are guys playing better than the 2 I expect to be named, and I'm curious to see which one they pick as a third, because this isn't Russia. I know they're not in the 4 nations, but where you've got 4 Hall of Famers potentially to pick from, or even the Americans with Hellebuck and Ottinger playing really well, and even with Swayman struggling, and Demko not playing, like you have a glut of guys to choose from. If Canada's going to go with those 2 who are underperforming, as I believe they will, they better pick smart with the third one in case those other 2 guys don't turn it around.
Kevin Woodley from InGoal Magazine, NHL.com. Jones, the other guy who's quietly had a pretty sound season. I don't know what the adjusted numbers say, Kevin, but it's Darcy Kemper in LA.
Large, yeah, and I'm going to have to put on my glasses to look at that one, Jason. Yeah. So we're going to get the creepy eyes. I think that a lot of that right now, much like Talbot last year, is environment. Still a very friendly goaltending environment. And the fact he can't, again, he's missed not just multiple games, but multiple times this year he's been out with injury. I just think the combination of the year he had last year and the fact there's still injuries there, I don't see him being a guy they go to in this mix.
Okay. Now looking at the orders tonight, Montembeault. Tomorrow's probably going to be Allmark. You look at the orders next 2 matchups, but Montreal has not been a great defensive team. I'm guessing the environment for Montembeault has not been overly enjoyable. I would think. What about Ottawa's situation? So what are the orders? What do you make of these 2 matchups here tonight and tomorrow?
Well, first of all, for Sam Montembeault, the environment's been right around league average, and he's just slightly underperforming it. But after a really hot start, that means it's been pretty cold of late to get to league average. The guy who's really had a tough time, both in terms of environment and performance, has been Caden Primo. He had a really good year last year. I thought he took a big step, but his expected is in the 860s, and he's underperforming it. Ottawa, honestly, they've been a lot better defensively under Travis Green. And I hate to say it, but it's because I'm supposed to have the goalie union card. But right now, it's been the goalies that have underperformed that environment. Linus Ullmark has an expected save percentage of .902, which is well above league average, 15 points above, and hasn't been able to sort of even play up to that level. His numbers currently rank in the 60th in the National Hockey League adjusted save percentage. We know there's better there. There's an adjustment period that's to be expected. But he's struggled off and on, had some good starts, but more that haven't been good. Anton Forsberg with a much tougher environment, and that's just the nature of the backup job in some cases. He's a little bit below the league average in terms of his expected environment, so he hasn't had quite the defensive support that Linus Ullmark has had, but he's outperformed it. He's 26th in the league. He's actually quietly had a nice bounce back season after having to overcome that severe knee injury from a couple of years ago, and that takes time. He's been really good. They just need more out of the guy that they went out and got to provide it.
Yeah. That's kind of what I thought watching a lot of their games, of course, that, there's been, and I don't know the goalie position that well, but I'm like, geez, some of those goals going in, you would think for a guy like that they just paid A. Schmill, that they would get a few more saves times like that. What about Vasilevskiy in Tampa? There's been lots of talk about his numbers. Where do you see him at right now?
I don't even know what his raw numbers are, but I hope they're as good as adjusted because Vasi looks like Vasi. As a matter of fact, actually, his adjusted numbers are slightly better than they've been even in his peak seasons right now.
His real numbers, his real numbers are 920 and a 2.15 goals against. So really good.
Okay, so that's pretty good by these standards. As I keep reading articles about how save percentage is falling to historic lows, everybody thinks it's the 80s again. His adjusted numbers are top 10 in the league and among starters top 5. He's really, really been good. And we talked a little bit about this after I watched him play the Canucks early in the season. But when you watch him, there are changes. And I know he made a conscious decision in the summer, some sort of recognition from last year that, hey, I had the back surgery. He is a freak athletically. He's like Gumby back there with power at end ranges. Like his ability to access power from fully extended end ranges and his ability to generate power when he's extended is off the charts. But he recognized that he's not going to last long if he keeps putting himself in positions where he has to. So he sought out Adam Francilia in Kelowna this summer, the same trainer that Skinner works with, and started to remake some elements of his game. And I see, as much as the explosiveness still makes the highlight reels, a taller, a better posture on initial shots and initial entries into the zone that allows him to not get as locked in low and wide and rely on that athleticism as often. There's a little more Connor Halley and Andrei Vasilevskiy, who also trains with Adam Francilia. Sort of Connor likes to talk about himself as the big boring. And I've seen a lot of games where I've watched Vasilevskiy this year and I'm like, hey, like that's the big boring part too, because he is making a lot of saves that he would get himself in dynamic situations. He's just making them look easier. And that bodes well for his longevity for a guy who's already set the record for the fastest to 300 wins. So he's having a hell of a year in Tampa Bay this year. And I think it bodes well long-term for him as a guy who's probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame.
Kevin, you talked about Vasilevskiy seeking out another goaltender trainer in Kelowna, and Stuart Skinner used him as well this summer. How common is that? Is that something? Because I know every NHL team has their goalie coach. Is that just something to kind of get another different outlook? What are well, I mean, and Adams, I mean, they go on the ice, but a lot of it is training, like sort of biomechanics and how a goaltender moves as opposed to technical and tactical. They do like to take a lot of the work they've done in the gym. So they'll do very specific movements in the gym with some really unique setups that I can't actually share. I was sworn secrecy after seeing them in terms of how they move on the ice, the different bands and stuff they use when they're off the ice, and then translate it